Alrighty, give me 1 second. Takes me a while to set up the YouTube stuff because I have no idea what I'm doing on YouTube, especially with streaming. So it takes me a second. Okay, let me just open up the YouTube stream on my phone. Probably won't really get into like the main stuff we're doing tonight for like another like 7 minutes or so, because normally I start my stream at 11:30, so I was actually able to start a little earlier. So I'm just gonna wait till my normal start time before we do anything too crazy. Excuse me. All right, let me open up the YouTube stream on my phone so I can keep track of chat on there. I gotta set up the multi-stream stuff on Streamlabs better, because I can actually have it where I can view both chats at the same time in Streamlabs, but right now the way I have it set up, it doesn't pop up for some reason. So yeah, I gotta figure out how to fix that because I have no idea. All right, we got some interesting stuff going on tonight. I actually planned. This hair right here is distracting me. I think I made it worse. Yeah, I actually planned out what we're gonna be doing on tonight's stream, because last week I was kind of all over the place. I had a little bit of a mess. And just kind of winging it. I mean, I don't think last week's stream was that bad, but I like to be a little bit more organized and have a general idea of what I'm doing for the night. What's up, Mistral? How's it going? Let me open up some of the stuff I was planning to do tonight. So, there's 2 fantasy distractions that we're re-releasing as like those word scroll versions that I've been doing that I re-recorded, but it was when I got the new mic, but it was before I got the right settings for the mic. I think we're gonna re-record those live, which I think should be interesting because I could still record it through Audacity, even though I'm also streaming live. So, I think I'm gonna record those. It should be fun. One is the Drew one that I really, really like how that came out, and one of the Jack stories. So I think we're gonna do those live. I think that should be interesting. I mean, worst case scenario, if I don't like the way it comes out, I just record it again off stream. It's not the end of the world, you know. It's good. I'm glad to hear. So yeah, I think we're gonna record both of those live. I mean, no matter what, I could still get videos out of them like I released today on YouTube. I released 2 videos today, one at like 1 and one at 2, just because I forgot to upload them for last Tuesday. So I was like, screw it, I'll just double down this Tuesday, and then I'll just release 1 video every Tuesday from here on out. Yeah, so the Drew story, the Jack story, and then I thought it would be fun to do some we've been talking about Mira a lot on stream lately. I mean, she's always relevant to the stream, But since we've been doing live readings and stuff, we might as well read a little Mira action. And then what else? Probably still do some old The Soldier's Crest. I've been having fun with that, and I think we've all been kind of enjoying it. Yeah, Jack. We have a character in Fantasy Distractions named Jack. It's not spelled the same. It's Jeck, but it's pronounced the same. So Titus or Titus, depending on how you decide to pronounce it. Okay. Real quick, I'm gonna go on a little rant. In the Dissidia games, they pronounce it Titus. But wouldn't it make sense for it to be Titus? It literally puts tide in his name. He has a sword that is literally a tide. And he plays I don't want to call it a water sport, but he plays blitzball. Okay, so why would his name be Titus? It makes no sense. Titus makes sense. I always said it that way. Anyway, yeah, like it should be Titus. I don't know why in Dissidia they call him Titus. Like, no. This doesn't make sense. All right, rant over, but it's one of those things that really grinds my gears. Okay, what do I gotta open here? Fantasy Distractions, Drew, Jack. Yeah, Jack is basically like the quote unquote main character of Fantasy Distractions, but the way the series is designed, there isn't really like a main character. But if I had to like say somebody was the main character, it's Jack. Okay, so that's the Drew story, the Jack story. I need the Mira side story. I'm just going through my Google Docs and opening everything. This Mira story is available as an ebook, but we're gonna read it anyway. Screw it. Nobody buys the ebook anyway. If Amazon comes looking for me, they come looking for me. What am I gonna do, you know? Excuse me. Let's blitz. Teach us how to blitz. So all these stories, it feels like we're getting different pieces of its universe. Yeah, like I essentially want to make it where like everything I release is in the same universe. So like a Soldier's Crest, even though it takes place like many, many, many years before the stuff that's happening on Fenrir for Fantasy Distractions, I still consider it like the same universe. Like the Fantasy Distraction stuff is the like future of the Soldier's Crest universe. So like it's all still connected, and everything I release from here on out, I want it to be connected. Is it a physical book? That one is not. No. Anything that I had available in physical doesn't exist online anymore. You would have to buy it like directly through me. Which I was trying to show off my book on the last stream, but I still haven't dug one out of where we put them once we moved. Yeah, I don't know what I think maybe the Fantasy Distraction ebook pops up when I do the command. Let me see. Oh my god, I gotta fix this thing on Streamlabs. Oh my goodness gracious. What is this one? This is oh no, it's still Mira. I gotta fix the cover of this too. It's so bootleg. The art is nice because the art is made by Coinbox Tees, but like the writing that's over it is so like my name isn't even centered. It's what a mess. You should show one day like a preview of one of the writing streams. Yeah, I wanted so my first book, I was actually even thinking about doing this on stream as well. I want to rewrite it because there's some things about it that I'm not happy with. And like now I kind of feel like I have an opportunity to fix it, if that makes sense. So I kind of want to rewrite it and change some things. Maybe shorten it a little bit because it's like almost 400 pages. It was published, my first book, you mean, or the ebook? Because the ebook I think was like 2019. Yeah, June 1st, 2019. The first book, so like I self-published it like forever ago. I wonder if Amazon still has it on there. I know it used to have it on there, but you just can't buy it. Yeah, I don't think it's available anymore. Maybe if I go to my author page, hold on. Yeah, it doesn't even pop up on there anymore. But it was a lot. I self-published it a long time ago. Actually, like traditionally published, probably like 6 or 7 years ago at this point. It's been a minute. Probably less than that. It's probably like 5 years because I left Target roughly like 6 years now, I think. So it was about like once the publisher went out of business, it was about 2 years after I left Target. So it's probably like 5 years altogether. Okay. Shadowed Lives, Drew Jack, the old The Soldier's Crest stuff. That one isn't as loud, at least. You're still just testing out all the sound alerts when you get enough points. Okay, it's a Soldier's Crest original. I'll open up the Choose Your Own Adventure. I think we'll get to a little Choose Your Own Adventure tonight. Maybe not as much as last time because there's more things I want to read for funsies tonight, but okay, let me let me overlay this. All right, so the Drew stuff is we're gonna do first. I just got to remember. Okay, so I do this a lot when I record off stream. Um, I have a bad habit of not hitting record on Audacity, and I just start reading, and and then I do the entire reading, and then I realize I didn't hit record. I've done this so many times, it's embarrassing. So I got to make sure I hit record when we're ready to rock and roll here. The amount of times I've like fully recorded something and I didn't actually record it is it's actually impressive. It's actually impressive. All right, so we've released this before. I'm really not happy with the quality of like my mic and the recording when I recorded this the first time. And then I actually really do like the way it came out, even though I didn't have like the right settings for this mic when I recorded it the first time, and I actually don't hate it. So we're gonna see how it comes out with the better settings. I mean, technically it should be better, but I might still end up not using this version on the actual re-release with the word scrolling. So we'll see how that goes. But um We're past 11:30. I was just kind of waiting until 11:30 because that's my usual like start time. I'm doing a lot of air quotes tonight. I have nights like that where I just air quote a lot. So it's gonna be an air quote kind of night. All right. So we're gonna read this first. We're gonna do Jack. We're gonna read a little bit of Mira's Mira's. I might do 2 chapters for Mira because the first chapter of Mira's story is so sad, dude. It's so sad. Giant laser beam. So we might do 2 chapters for Mira because the first one is a real downer. All right, Jack, Drew. Well, Drew, Jack, Mira. Some soldiers grass to action. And then we'll get to it. All right, so let me hit record before I forget. Let's do this. I'm gonna take a sip of water first. What did I activate on the camera? What, like, I'm drinking. Hello? I didn't have Streamlabs open. I have no idea what that activated. Should I hide my hand or the water bottle behind? It's not tracking me, so it wasn't that. Did I zoom? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm panicking too. All right, let me start. I just recorded me complaining about the camera. So at least we know I'm remembering to do that. Let's get rid of that. Boom. Let's do a new recording here. No. Okay. One more burp because I ate before I went live. Okay. All right. Here we go. How do the others do it? Oh, yes. Sit down and let me tell you a tale. Or something like that. Many years ago, in a town called Onate, rumors began to spread of a wise hermit with incredible power. Many believed these rumors to be false, as adventurers and common folk alike would travel beyond Onate's walls to seek out this wise hermit. The reasoning was almost always different. Some wanted to become powerful themselves, some wanted to become rich, some wanted fame, some needed healing or a family member healed, and so on and so on. Yet often these people would not return from their journey. The hermit was hard to find, and many believed those who went out to seek him entered the less friendly parts of Onate's outskirts, thus meeting their end. There's a character in this called Rhyron, by the way, and it always makes me think of Aaron. I don't know why I used that name. I kind of wish I didn't. But I also rhyme the name later, so it needs to stay. Unless I change the rhyme, I guess. Others believed people were so obsessed with finding him that even after checking everywhere outside Onate, they pushed even further beyond the walls. Surely if he isn't just outside Onate, then he must be somewhere else, they thought. But the truth was this hermit was not a wise hermit at all, but instead a trickster by the name of Drew. So why would Drew do such a thing to the people of Onate? Well, let's just say Drew wasn't much different from those adventurers or the common folk. Those fortunate enough to actually find Drew, the trickster, were often tricked and swayed to part ways with their valuables in return for power or riches. Neither of which they received in return, of course, and how conveniently that when they went back for a refund, the trickster was gone. The less fortunate of the bunch saw through Drew's lies, so the trickster was forced to silence them in order to keep up the ruse. In those rare cases, it just meant Drew could take what he wanted. Because I ate before I did this, I feel like I have the like whistly thing that I can't stand when I record stuff. Okay. The manner of people that sought him out was what you would expect. The brutish barbarian types, the desperate maidens, and the helplessly too intelligent for their own good types. Those last ones Drew hated the most, and they were often the ones he gutted. Normal and expected was fine with Drew, though, because if he always faced what he expected. Nope. Normal and expected was fine with Drew, though, because if he always faced what he expected, then he could never lose. The odds were always in his favor. Until one day he met an orc by the name of Rhyron. Why did I use this name? Why? Oh, welcome home, kitty. Hello. Orcs, typically, were not the brightest, and this Drew knew for sure. Once he saw Rhyron's exterior, he pinned him down as one of those brutish types with a barbaric nature. But much to Drew's surprise, Rhyron was much more intelligent than he anticipated. So the orc saw through his lies and deception. But Drew could neither outrun nor defeat Rhyron in battle. So Drew did what any good trickster would do. He stalled until he figured it out. We are currently reading one of the fantasy distractions that I had to re-record. But when I recorded it, since getting this mic, I didn't have the new settings on my mic, so I'm re-recording it. We're not reading about Mira yet. We're going to read about Mira. We're going to do the Drew story, the Jack story, and then we're going to read about Mira. So soon. Mira soon. You didn't miss any Mira action yet, kitty. Rhyron was there to seek the wise hermit's power to cure his hurt lover that was injured in a previous encounter. Drew offered him a concoction in exchange for Rhyron's gold. The orc obliged the trickster, but the... yeah, you didn't miss anything yet. The orc obliged the trickster. Obliged? Why does that sound weird coming off my tongue? I think it's just the way that I pronounce as this character. So, I don't know. It's just the way it is. The orc obliged the trickster, but the actual injury was Rhyron's instead, which he revealed under his cloak. So when the orc put the concoction on his wounds, the potion didn't work. This infuriated Rhyron. I also did an orc voice for this when I recorded it originally, and I hate it. Every time I hear it, I hate it. So I will not be doing a voice this time. Do you think me a fool, trickster? Said the orc. The potion takes time, the trickster replied. Plus, you lied. The potion doesn't like liars. This only pushed Rhyron further into fury, and he revealed a sharp axe he was hiding beneath his cloak. Just wait a second. I said that backwards. I can't do the Like is just like a weird like pronunciation to use there. Like written out it's fine. But like to perform it, it's weird. Wait just a second. Drew put his hand out to stop him. Allow me to explain. In the ancient times, there was a wizard who didn't fight his battles with magic or weapons. He fought each fight with words. Hard to believe, I know, but before this, I was a thief. I looked for this wizard to teach me because if I could rob people with just my words, then I would be the greatest thief alive. I would never face conflict, and I would never face trouble like this. So what I did was I learned of his whereabouts and asked him to train me, but the wizard said his skills could not be taught, that his powers were a gift that even he could not explain. But I am smarter than I look, so I found the source of his power, an amulet he wore around his neck. You see, this old wizard was a trickster himself, and tried to play me for a fool, but much like you, I saw through it. Or did you? He's now addressing the viewer. Or the listener of the story. Because if my powers are words and you've been listening this whole time, then you have already lost. I snatched that amulet from that old wizard's corpse, and now I control the narrative of every story I'm in. So tell me, did I win? Is it truly a sinner's sin to take advantage of those weaker when it is they who are the seeker? And when they find me, I make them climb an endless ladder, rung by rung, until I get what I desire with this gifted silver tongue. You see, the only ruse is what I choose, and none of this you can rely on. None of this was true at all, not Onate, the Hermit, or Rhyron. Don't worry, though. I won't harm you. After that wizard, my killing days were over. I gotta do that over. Don't worry, though. I won't harm you. After that wizard, my killing days were over. It's true what they say. Killing is a heavy burden to shoulder. Now I thank you for your riches and beg you to remember that persuasion is not a crime. And with that, and a tip of my hat, I'm gone. Until next time. I'll probably end up re-recording this. I have too much of the phlegmy sound in my voice right now. I didn't end up getting the honey sticks either, Kitty. I think I'm gonna end up getting the honey Ludens. Like they're technically cough drops, but Aaron and Ryron. I should have just rhymed Aaron, right? That would have been easier. I can't forget to take this out when I put the word scroll version up. Or maybe I should. Maybe I should leave it in for anybody that's unable to actually listen to the performance. More quotations. There was actually quotations in the other than people talking, but I put where was it? Power or riches is in quotations also. A lot of quotations tonight. I'll probably end up recording this again. I don't know about that one, that take. I'll save it just in case. I'll re-listen to it. See if I like it or not. That story is one of my favorite that I wrote outside of Rhyron. Don't know why I used Rhyron. I mean, I could change it now, but I also the original still exists, so I don't want to change it from the original, if that makes sense. Not too much, It's different with my book. My book you can't get anywhere anymore. So other than from me. So the only place you could get the original is from me. So this is kind of my opportunity to fix the things I don't like about it. And then anybody who actually has the original, they have something special, Whereas with this, it's the original's still gonna be there. So it's kind of silly to redo it. Ryron's fine, it's different. Yeah, I guess. I just can't get past the AA Ron thing. The weirdest part about okay, it's fixed. When I'm on just the default, you guys can see this right now, yeah. When I'm on the when I'm over here, it's actually Arial. And when I click here, it's still Arial. And then it goes to Times New Roman. It's really weird. I was like, this one's an Arial? It looks like Times New Roman. Hey, Ryron. I will never not think of that skit when I hear that name. Yeah, Kitty does have a signed book. I still have books that I could maybe one day on stream I'll just maybe if I become a bigger streamer, I'll give them away on stream or something and we could sign them on stream. and I'll send them to people or something like that. All right, we're gonna do the Jack one. The Jack one. Jack's parents are the worst. All right, Jack's parents. They're pretty bad. They're not even like bad people necessarily. I mean, they're mercenaries, so kinda, but like, you'll see. If you haven't heard the story yet, you'll see. All right, let's do that. To understand why Jack is such a troubled man, you first need... Already messed up. To understand why Jack is such a troubled man, you first need to know about his life before he stepped foot in the bog. Jack was born to two mercenaries, Alon and Purity Rhinestone. His mother and father were well known throughout Fenrir for some time. Once Jack was born, they took on less jobs. That doesn't mean they stopped working completely. Sure, they had enough money to take some time off to raise Jack, but they wanted their son to be exposed to their lifestyle at an early age. Katsu said his name is not on it. I didn't sign a Katsu? Or my name isn't on it? Or did I not put a Katsu's name? Did I just sign it to you, Kitty? What the heck? Needless to say, mercenary work isn't the best place for a child. Alon and Purity were not going to win any Parents of the Year awards anytime soon. But that didn't stop them from bringing Jack with them no matter what the job was. Stopping a monster from terrorizing a village, shutting down a bandit camp, or retrieving an important item for a magistrate. I always mess this line up. Oh, I didn't know you bought it, so it doesn't have a Katsu on it. Okay. I'll send a Katsu a personal one day. Stopping a monster from terrorizing a village, shutting down a bandit camp, or retrieving an important item for a magistrate. No matter what the task, and of course as long as the money was right, Alon and Purity were there to get the job done, with baby Jack in tow. As Jack grew, his parents immediately put him to work. Before he could fight, he would carry and sharpen the weapons. While he learned the ropes of persuasion, he acted as his parents' distraction. Once he was old enough to hold his own, he acted more as a partner than a hindrance. As he gained experience, Alon and Purity would let him lead assignments, and soon he became the best mercenary in all of Fenrir, despite being only 20 years old. So now you have to ask yourself, if he was such a popular and successful mercenary, why does nobody talk about him now? What happened? What changed so drastically that he went from the one person everyone would seek out for a tough task to just an afterthought? The answer to all of those questions dates back to when Alon and Purity finally let their son work on his own. Jack's parents began to take on less because mercenary work in general is pretty taxing on the body, and they were starting to get too old to travel and fight all the time. So instead of stopping Jack's momentum and success, they finally let their son go out on his own. Jack took on many solo missions from all walks of Fenrir, from the port of Vesuva to Vorpal, from Asgard to the from Asgard to the Stone District. If a citizen or a royal had a job, then Jack was their man. At this point, when I released this the first time, we had a story in Vesuva, we had a story in Vorpal, a story in Asgard, but we never went to the Stone District yet. So I was just like, I need to include a place we haven't been to yet. So we haven't really done many, if any, stories in the Stone District since, but I've mentioned it in other stories. However, outside of hard-to-reach continents like Sabia, there was one place that Alon and Purity refused to work and would often warn Jack about. The southern half of Fenrir was a place clouded in darkness, known to the people of Fenrir as the Deadlands. The southern region was where the goddess of witches, Aradia, was worshipped. It was an area that no one dared go, and if they did, they never returned. I hate that they consider this wrong. They want you to correct it to worshipped with one P, and that drives me nuts for some reason. Yeah, the fashion designer district, exactly. Alon and Purity would often tell tales of this land and warn Jack that if he ever saw a job or was approached about a job in the Deadlands to steer clear of it at all costs. After burp. Excuse me. But this would not be the first time someone fell victim. But this would not be the first time someone fell victim to their own hubris. Despite his origins and the arrogance of his parents, Jack was more of an honorable man than a prideful one. Jack was more of an honorable man than a prideful one, until once again faced with a mission to the Deadlands. He never found a mission or job that challenged him once he was older and working on his own. He never faced an enemy he could not defeat, an item he could not find, or a puzzle he couldn't solve. At times, he felt invincible, even if he chose not to show it. One day, when jobs were slow and he didn't have much work to do, Jack entered a tavern in search of work. A board was placed in the back of the tavern with odd jobs for mercenaries like Jack. It was in this tavern that his mother and father would often take him as a boy to pick up work, but there was something off about the board on the specific day. Every single job posting involved the Deadlands. All of the other jobs were taken, but since no one voluntarily entered the Deadlands, they were the only jobs left. Feeling sure of himself, Jack took on one of those jobs. Yeah, we have 4 gods and goddesses, and one of them is a witch. We've done a lot of Aradia stories. You would probably like Mistral. Almost like every Halloween, I do an Aradia story. So she's always involved. I was gonna wear. I have an Aradia shirt. I was gonna wear tonight, but I went with Morska again. I should have wore it. So, like, the current timeline of fantasy distractions, like the stuff that's happening on Fenrir, all of the gods and goddesses are missing, except Aradia, but also people don't really know Aradia is still around. She just stays in her place, the Deadlands. But she's the only one that's like not missing, and we haven't revealed like why they're missing yet. So that's like part of the mystery, you know. Ironically, this job was to go find out the fate of another mercenary who took a job in the Deadlands and never returned. You would think that would be enough of a warning to second guess his decision, but Jack was determined to defy the odds. As he prepared to make his journey to the Deadlands, Jack returned home to see his family just in case. Sorry, I'm so gassy right now. I like chugged a soda. I still have some of it left. I like chugged a soda before I went live, and I'm just like burping all over the place. Those are pretty cool emotes. His mother was the only one home that day and saw right through his intentions as she usually did when Jack started asking some questions about the Deadlands. Also, Jack and Aradia, who's the witch goddess, they're like super connected. So usually, if the story's about Jack, it's also about Aradia, or Aradia is involved in some way. I will not, Akatsu, not on stream. I'll mute myself if anything. Also, like low key, this is gonna be recorded on Audacity, but like, it's it's actually like painful to pass gas. No, this is way too much information. It's actually painful to pass gas since my surgery, unless I'm like sitting on the toilet. Like it's difficult. Oh my god, Norton antivirus is giving me like a million pop-ups right now. But yeah, there's your too much information for the night. Okay. I know you and father have always warned me about it, but what's so scary about the Deadlands anyway? Asked Jack. Hard to tell for sure, replied his mother. Most people don't even make it across the bog. The bog? Asked Jack. There is a large-scale swamp that covers the entirety of the entrance to the Deadlands known as the bog. All manner of creatures and ghouls call it their home. Your father and I were there once, briefly. Jack continued to pick his mother's brain about the encounter. Hold on. Jack continued to pick his mother's brain about that encounter. Purity told Jack that she and Alon took a job in the Deadlands once, and after just a few minutes in the bog, were forced to retreat and return the job to the board. It was the job that convinced them to never return there, and the source of their warnings for Jack. Purity didn't like the idea of Jack going there, and Jack tried to deny his intentions, but his mother knew there would be no swaying him. Take this. Purity reached into a wooden drawer and retrieved a golden compass. We've never tested it ourselves, but your father and I bought this from a merchant in Askar. It will shine a light to help you get out of the Deadlands if you get lost. Jack accepted the gift from his mother and said his farewells before leaving for the Deadlands. With the compass in hand, he approached the outskirts of the bog. He knelt down just before where the green grass turned into black tar and closed his eyes. He prayed to no god in particular for the safety of his mother and father, then rose and stepped foot into the bog. Okay. Let me export that real quick. Oh, thank you, Mistral. Thank you. My homie. Okay. That was really cool. He seems like an interesting character. Yeah, we've done a lot of stories with Jack. I would definitely suggest if you're interested in like the Aradia Jack stuff, we've done a lot. It's funny because it's like we don't visit certain things, like revisit, I should say, certain things that often. But at the same time, it does feel like we have a lot of stories set around the Deadlands or about the Deadlands, about Aradia, about Jack. So, I mean, Jack is essentially the main character. So, there's plenty of stuff about him if you're looking for it. What was the I'll do it for you? You're gonna pass gas for me? Well, now that you're kind of like learning about the characters, Mistral, the stories are designed in a way that they stand alone. So like even though they're numbered, so like the first season is numbered like 1 through 50. Even though they're numbered, they stand alone. So you can actually like now that you know like Jack and Aradia and characters like that, or anything to do with the Deadlands, for example, you could actually just go listen to those and not be lost because they're designed to stand alone. I do have like a playlist that just plays them all in order, but because they stand alone, there's really not like a chronological order outside of like the few season 2 stuff that I posted or anything that has like a part 1, part 2 kind of thing like that. So excuse me. You should still watch all of them. They're short. But if you wanted to target certain ones, you can. All right, this is the Mira stuff now. I was saying earlier before everybody else came in. Also, what's up, Spartan? We're gonna at least do 2 chapters. We can do more if you guys are enjoying it, but the first chapter is really, really sad. Okay, it's like it's pretty brutal. So I want to at least do 2 chapters because Mira's like a funny, lighthearted kind of character, but the short story, side story stuff about her, because it's telling like her origins, is a little more serious and dark. So like the first chapter is really like it's pretty bad. You want a book of chapters, at least 15? What do you mean? You want me to read 15 chapters? I don't even know if there's 15 chapters in this one. It's only 110 pages. You want me to just read the entire book right now? Okay. Now, I wrote this in 2019, so the writing shouldn't be that bad. The writing should be okay. Not like the A Soldier's Crest original stuff. Although, if I could go back, I probably would change some stuff about this, but I don't think I'm gonna mess with this too much. The only thing I probably would change, and I'm not gonna read them because I don't like to curse. There are curses in here. There's curses in the original Soldier's Crest also, so I'm not gonna read them. So I will say like, F instead of the F word and like stuff like that. I'm not gonna read the curses. You want Neil deGrasse Tyson to read it to you? All right, like donate. I don't know however much it costs to get Neil deGrasse Tyson to read stuff. I got you. You just gotta donate because I can't afford that. Like me and Neil deGrasse Tyson are not like homies or anything. All right, this is chapter 1. The book is called Shadowed Lives, and it is a Soldier's Crest Mira specific side story. Looking straight up from the dirt-covered ground of the ninja village, you couldn't even see the sun through the trees and branches above. Despite it being daytime, the lampposts lining this hidden village were lit. A woman wearing a dark black cloak and a mask covering the lower half of her face walked out of her house, carrying a young baby girl with a small boy running past her and out into the dirt path. The little boy ran past another group of small children that were lined up receiving instruction from a teacher that was also dressed in all black. If you didn't get it, they're all ninjas. In a ninja village. A backflip is rather easy for a ninja, explained the instructor. Azel, give it a try. A small boy with short turquoise hair stepped out from the line. He was also wearing all black, but his face was not covered. I've never tried a backflip before, Azel said nervously. Try, the instructor demanded. Azel set his foot and let his arms hang before him and squatted. He jumped backwards and fell flat on his back. The other kids began to laugh. You find it humorous, but you have yet to try it yourselves, said the instructor. Mira, you try. Out from the crowd of children came a petite girl with short, wavy red hair. Her eyes were yellow with a hint of green, and instead of normal pupils, she had just black slits. She was wearing a red shirt with black shorts and sandals on her feet. What was most unique about her was that she had 2 cat ears and a tail covered in red fur sticking out from the back of her shorts, swaying behind her. This should have been worded in a way. It sounds like the cat ears and the tail are coming out of her shorts. But, that's just me being nitpicky on my own stuff. I don't want to try, said the small cat girl. Ah, but you do not have a choice, replied the instructor. The other kids began to talk among themselves. Mira looked behind her at the kids. Some were pointing at her as they spoke. She turned to face her instructor, then took a few steps forward to a similar spot that Azel just stood in. She stood straight for a moment before quickly squatting and backflipping up and over her instructor. The height she reached forced all of the kids to cease their conversations and look in awe. Mira landed gracefully before remembering she was training to be a ninja and dropped into a prowling state, pretending she was holding a weapon of some kind. She did a superhero landing after she landed, so I picture the Black Widow pose, okay? She had seen some of the older, more experienced students drop into the same state while wielding their katanas or knives. Hold on. The figure I mentioned that my niece stuffed into that thing behind me, the TV stand, is actually in the Black Widow pose. Hold on. For reference. This is completely unrelated and weird. And unnecessary. Black Widow pose. Right? Right? superhero landing? Like what about? Okay, I'm sorry. Carrying on. Sorry. Had to be done. Okay. A burp again, of course. Excuse me. Very good, said the instructor before nodding to signal she could go back into the group of children. The awe the kids were experiencing had worn off, and they snickered and mocked her as she passed through the crowd. Mira walked past them all, ignoring them, but one of the kids in the back of the group stuck out his foot and tripped her. She crashed to the ground, putting out her hands to brace her fall, but the damage had been done. Mira was now covered in mud, and the kids were laughing. The laughter grew louder and louder, and the other kids turned around as well, causing the instructor to pass through them to see a crying Mira on the floor. Her cat likeness didn't help her that time, said one of the kids through his laughter. This caused the other kids to laugh more as well. That is enough, commanded the instructor. You will not treat your own clan members with such disrespect. But instructor, she is clearly not one of ours. Look at her, another boy said. I said enough. The instructor was serious now, and the child knew not to press any further. Focus on the lesson and nothing more. Take that energy and do a backflip, Darius. Also used Darius, which I wasn't playing League at this time, but I'm sure I knew Darius was a champion in there. The children turned back to continue to try the task given to them by the instructor, but Mira did no such thing. She continued to walk toward one of the houses nearby. The houses in the village were all shrouded by trees and bushes, and some even connected to the trees directly. Mira sat on the steps of one of the buildings and began to look around her, taking in the scenery as if she did not live here her entire life. Across from where Mira sat was a large building with pillars decorating the front. Each pillar was wrapped in vines from a very large tree that sprouted from the top of the building. The top half of the tree was so large that the shadow completely covered the building beneath it. This was home of the village elder, Sunio, as well as the school for up-and-coming ninjas. Surrounding the building were numerous houses, each with its own tree behind it, creating a similar shadow effect as the large tree. I saw you soared through the air, a voice said from behind her. Made me proud. The voice belonged to Mira's mother. The other children think I'm a freak. She drags out her R's, like rolls them, because she's a cat. Which ends up being convenient when she's also a pirate. The other children think I'm a freak, Mira blurted out. She would often drag her R pronunciation. It was a habit that she could not control. You are not a freak, Mira. You are unique. The other kids are most likely jealous that they can't do the tasks given them as easily as you can. I just want to fit in, said Mira, her eyes beginning to swell with tears. Mira's mother looked down at her for a moment before sitting down on the step beside her. Mira's mother was a tall, slender woman with long black hair and black eyes. She was wearing an all-black dress with a red belt. She had sandals on similar to Mira's. She put her arm around her daughter and pulled her close. When I first came to this village, I was also an outcast. You were? Asked Mira, wiping her eyes. Yes, I was not as quick and agile as the ninjas of this village, and as an entertainer, that was looked down upon. I could do nothing to impress them, and I wanted nothing more to impress your father. How did you improve your agility? I left the village and found another way before coming back here again. When I returned, I was magnificent, and your father noticed. The children notice your superior agility, Mira. It is hard to ignore, but the negativity will stop eventually. Maybe you can help them learn. Why would I help them when they're so mean to me? Being mean back won't solve anything. You must be firm to not get walked all over, but you must also treat them as you would have them treat you. That sounds difficult, Mira said, looking down at her tail that was wiggling between them. It will be, but you are also stronger than the average child. You will figure it out to handle the situation. Your father and I have faith in you and love you above all else. She pushed a small strand of hair behind Mira's ear and out of her face. I love you too, Mira. I love you too. Mira couldn't help but smile. I don't know how I would teach what I can do. It's just natural. Before Mira's mother could answer, they heard noise behind them in their house. Your father has returned, said Mira's mother with a smile. Daddy's back? Mira was in shock. She had not seen her father for over 2 years. Aries? Okay, here we go. I gotta drink more water because I'm gonna lose my voice. This is why I need the honey. I think I pronounced this Aries. I don't remember what my plan was for pronunciation on this. I should probably know these things. Aries Stormwillow was an important figure in the village community, a statistic that did not help Mira's current situation as much as she thought it would. Mira rose to follow her mother into their house. She peeked her head into the room as if she had never seen her father before, and he was a complete stranger. Nera, I'm back, Aries said with a smile. Thank God, I was beginning to get worried. Nera kissed Aries on the lips. Ooh, it's getting hot and steamy. I did not. I'm probably gonna get like the Ludens, honey, like they're cough drops technically, but I mean like you can have them even if you don't have an actual cough. They're supposed to like soothe your throat. I might get something like that. Because I was thinking like the honey sticks might be like messy. And I don't know about just like, popping like a stick of honey. Like, quickly on stream. At least like if I get the cough drops, I could just like pop one in my mouth while I'm reading. Aries was a highly ranked ninja who was covered from head to toe with a black and blue garb. His mask was, yeah, I think those will be like a little easier for me on stream. The honey sticks were a good idea though. It got me to thinking about the Ludens. Ludens is a brand of cough drops. I assume it's everywhere. I have no idea if that's like a New York thing, a States thing. I don't know. His mask was hanging behind him like a hood to reveal his short red spiky hair and his black eyes. Before him on their kitchen table was a large treasure chest, and in his hand was a bracelet made of white gold, which he presented to Nera. A gift for my beautiful wife. Thank you, Ari. You didn't have to do this, Nera said as she slipped on the bracelet. She put her hand out in front of her to admire it. It seemed to fall into my lap, Aries answered with a smile. His smile would always make Mira feel better when she was younger, but after 2 years the effect didn't seem as strong. As she watched her parents talk, she couldn't help but think of how the other kids had treated her. Where is Mira? Asked Aries. I hope she's staying out of trouble. She is, dear. She's right here. Mira entered the room further and approached Aries. You've grown so tall, Aries shouted, sounding more shocked than he meant to let on. Not too tall to be picked up by your dad, though. He grabbed Mira by the waist and lifted her up so that she was sitting on his arm. Her tail was wrapped around his bicep, partially out of fear and partially for support. Do you know what's inside this chest, Mira? No, but I'd like to find out, she said with a smile. Her father's charm was starting to work on her. And you will. This is a present I brought back for you. He placed Mira down so that she was standing on one of the kitchen chairs. Her tail was curled upwards, a sign of her excitement. Go ahead, Mira, open it. Mira unlocked the front part of the chest and hesitated, unsure of what she would find inside. She slowly opened it, adding to her own suspense. When she opened it fully, she found 9 bottles of milk lined up in 3 rows. She let go of the top of the chest and it slammed down with a thud. She jumped down from the chair gracefully and began to walk toward the front door. She turned back toward her parents, tears in her eyes. Really? She muttered before disappearing out the door. I don't understand. Did I do something wrong? The other kids have been making fun of her because of how she looks. Nera was rubbing her husband's arm. She most likely took the milk as another jab at her being a cat. But she's not a cat. She's my daughter. I'll kill those kids. Oh my god. I'll kill those kids is literally the line. Aries went to leave the house to go after Mira, but Nera stopped him. You'll just make it worse, Ari. Tears began to form in Nera's eyes as well. I didn't mean to upset her. That milk was very hard to obtain. Despite her being cat-like, she likes milk. I thought she would enjoy it. You meant well. She'll get over it. She's just had a long day. What brought this on? Aries was furious with the other children of the village. She did a backflip today during her class. Already? That's amazing. Aries grabbed his wife by her arms in his excitement. She jumped over the instructor. So? That's impressive. Higher than you or I could jump. Way higher. Higher than us? As adults? Aries couldn't believe it. I'm proud. The other kids are jealous. They feel Mira has an unfair advantage over them. Even if she was born normal, she would still be better than them. We're partial to our daughter. If she was normal, she could at least fit in and not feel so miserable when the other children pick on her. Nera walked over to the chest and opened it to look at the milk. I made a mistake going to that Secromancer. It's my fault Mira is like this. Okay, I explained what Secromancy is here, but we actually have a fantasy distraction about Secromancy coming out in February. I actually just edited it. Don't eat too much cough drops because it could give you the runs. Okay, that's good to know. I definitely don't need that. So that's good to know. I'll probably just have like one per these streams, and that's it. I forgot to go out and buy them though, which is the problem. So I'm feeling it tonight. I already feel like my voice is going. We're only like an hour in. The act of secromancy was a rare and often looked down upon magical procedure that involved the transferring of a creature's cells to another creature. Nera was desperate for a way to impress Ares and had a secromancer by the name of Zandriel fuse her cells with that of a tiger. The feline cells, her human cells, and the magic that connected them enhanced her agility and allowed her to better perform as an entertainer. The procedure didn't seem to have any side effects until Mira was born. Nera and Ares noticed it immediately in their baby's yellow and black cat-slit eyes before they even noticed her tail. Mira stood at the door just outside. She could not listen anymore. She walked down the stairs and out toward where their lesson was. The kids had all gone inside for their class, and it was empty. A few people were outside of their houses, mostly men and women doing chores. Didn't feel like going to class? A soft voice spoke from her right. It belonged to a small girl with purple hair and dark purple eyes. No, doesn't interest me. Same. Mira, right? Yeah. I'm Kikuri. I enjoyed your backflip. Thanks, said Mira, looking down and kicking a rock, as kids do. Want to be friends? Kikuri said with a smile while getting closer to Mira. Friends? Mira stopped looking down and stared at Kikuri, dumbfounded. I've never had one of those before. Oh, that actually wasn't the chapter. I thought that chapter was longer. All right, so chapter 2 might be the pretty messed up one. And all right, so we'll do 3 chapters then, because this is the messed up one I was thinking of. So, all right. 4 years had passed. Mira was 12 years old when she met Kikuri, who was also 12 at the time. The two became great friends. Excuse me. The two became great friends, and Kikuri helped Mira learn to ignore the foul names the other kids had called her. Now, at the age of 16, both girls were becoming more mature and getting to know the boys of the village. Azel and Kikuri became close, but they still included Mira in whatever they were doing. The other boys refused to interact with Mira, still treated her poorly, but Mira did her best to shut them out. Mira's relationship with her parents continued to grow distant. Mira never accepted the milk from her father, but tried to make things normal between them whenever she was around him. Something that was rare because Ares was constantly going on important missions for the village elder Sunio. As for Mira's relationship with her mother, Nera, things were stable, but Mira did not confide in her mother as much as Nera hoped she would. Mira was still upset that Nera was ashamed of what she created, a cat girl. Mira did not know the entire details of her creation, nor did she want to know. She was starting to become more comfortable with herself as she became more and more resilient to the bullying she was experiencing. Every year, the children of the ninja school would gather together and have a party. For the last 4 years, Mira decided not to show her face, but this year Kikuri and Azel were really trying to convince her to go. It'll be fun, Kikuri said. You have to experience it at least once before you graduate, Mira. I don't know. I don't think anyone wants me there, Mira replied. Mira had grown a lot since 4 years ago. She still tended to wear black dresses with sandals, but her body was maturing as well. She was much taller now, and her short red hair was shoulder length. She would spend the majority of her time inside the school's library, but instead of studying anything ninja related, she would spend most of her time reading different fantasy stories. It expanded her imagination and her knowledge, and made it easier for her to block out the people that annoyed her. Emissier is going to be there, though, Azel said, laughing. You know he has the hots for you. I doubt it, Mira said, looking down. You need more confidence, Mira. You're really hot now, Kikuri said, smiling. You think so? Yeah, stop taking your unique look as a negative. Any guy that hooks up with you has the most different girl in the village. Azel was trying to comfort her, but Kikuri nudged him with her elbow to get him to stop. What? It's true, added Azel, failing to take the hint. You guys just go ahead. I don't think I'm going to go. It's your decision in the end, Mira, Kikuri went on. We're not going to force you, but we hope to see you there. It'll be fun. Kikuri and Azel walked over to the hall where the party would be held. Mira walked towards her own house, planning to spend the night in her room reading another fantasy story. She had just rented out Legend of the Abyssal Runes, a pirate book about a female pirate named Captain Charlotte Blackwater. She had begun reading the book the night before and was halfway through it. Before she reached her house, a voice stopped her. Hey, Mira! Mira turned to face who called her. It was the young 16-year-old boy named Emissier. She was reading Fantasy Distractions. See, before Fantasy Distractions even existed. Mira was ahead of her time. I've been planting the seeds since 2019, even though it didn't come out till 2020. Emissier. Mira said his name and nothing more. She was shocked he called her over. The truth was, Mira had some feelings for Emissier as well. You've been skipping a lot of classes lately, I've noticed, he said. Yeah. Mira didn't know what else to say. She had been skipping classes, sometimes just to read, and sometimes just didn't want to be bothered. I saw you heading home. Are you not coming to the party? Emissier asked. I wasn't planning on going, answered Mira. You should come with me. It'll be fun. Emissier said with a smile that tended to melt Mira's heart. Emissier was taller than most of the boys her age and had short blonde hair, rare in the ninja village where everyone tried to keep their colors dark to help hide in the shadows. You could fall into his bright blue eyes and be lost forever. How romantic. With you? Yeah, you could be my date, he said with a laugh. Come on, what do you say? Just let me get changed, Mira replied, but Emissier grabbed her by the wrist. You look fine just like that, he said, smiling again. It made Mira smile as well. They held hands on their way to the hall where the party was taking place. Kikuri and Azel were standing by the door when they entered. Mira, you made it! Kikuri ran over to her and gave her a hug. I'm so happy you came. Me too, said Mira with a smile. How has it been so far? The festivities are just getting started, but it's been great so far, said Azel, coming up beside Kikuri. Kiki, we should dance, Mira said. Her excitement to actually be at one of these events was obvious. Sure. Kikuri and Mira ran off to a large square area set up for dancing. A few of the other students were also dancing. Azel and Emissier did not hesitate and went to join their respective women. 2 songs in a row, they danced to fast-paced songs, enjoying themselves. Mira was surprised that no one made a scene when she entered, and she even danced with some of the boys who usually treat her poorly. The whole situation was surreal to her. After the second song ended... Hoi Leppo, what's up? Good morning from Germany. Hello, good morning. The whole situation was surreal to her. After the second song ended, the lights dimmed and a slow song came on. Mira began to make her way off to the side, but Emissier grabbed her wrist again and pulled her in close. Where do you think you're going? He said with that contagious smile again. I didn't think you were serious about the date thing, Mira said, placing her fingers through his as they swayed back and forth. One sec. I really like you, Mira. I always have. I hated the way everyone treated you. He looked her right in the eyes. Emissier was one of the few boys in the village who never bullied her. It was a big part of the reason why Mira developed feelings for him. I like you too, Emissier. They continued to sway for a moment until Emissier closed his eyes. Mira looked up and didn't know what to do. She had never been in this situation before. She closed her eyes as well and leaned forward, but Emissier pulled himself away. When she opened her eyes, the lights of the hall were on, and she was leaning into a kiss with no one. The music had stopped, and all of the kids in the room were staring at her on the dance floor by herself. Emissier was standing next to Azel and another boy she recognized, the one who bullied her the most. a boy by the name of Darius. All three boys were laughing, as were the rest of the teens. Did you really think I was going to kiss that ugly face? I'm shocked you didn't try to lick me instead, Emisyr laughed. You're something else, Mira, started Darius, taking a few steps toward her. Mira was looking around the room, helpless. A freak, a cheater, and extremely easy. Emisyr walked up to her next. You guys should have let me have sex with her first. I could have easily. Yeah, bullies. You wouldn't even know what to do with a normal girl, Emisyr. Look like you could figure out how to please this thing? Azelle finally joined in, walking over to her as well. What's the matter, Kitty? Did you really think... Oh, sorry, Kitty. What's the matter, Kitty? Did you really think we wanted you here? Not you, Kitty. This Kitty. It is pretty harsh, yeah. This is pretty savage. Mira was still frozen in place. She could not find any words to say. Speechless, maybe a little parched, Darius walked over to one of the tables off to the side and picked up a bottle of milk and walked back over to Mira. Does this look familiar? Yeah, it's not Carrie level. Carrie is pretty messed up. It was one of the bottles of milk that her father had gotten her. How did you get that? She thought. Oh, that's in her head. How did they get that? She thought. But the words to speak it aloud never came. Your father invited us all over for a little chat. Must be nice having that much power in your family, explained Azelle. Excuse me. He sat us down and told us to stop picking on you, Emisyr added with a laugh. That smile of his was no longer inviting, it was sinister. We listened and nodded our heads like good little boys, but he didn't notice Darius stealing from him. Guess he's not all that powerful since he couldn't even sense an amateur stealing from him. Here's our first curse word. F you, I'm no amateur. Darius shoved Emisyr, but Azelle stepped between them, grabbing the bottle of milk out of Darius's hand and dangling it before Mira's face. Come on, Kitty, you know you want this milk. Azelle taunted her. Mira stuck her hand out because she had no other choice, despite how offended the milk made her feel 4 years ago. It was still a gift from her father. As soon as she was about to grab it, Azelle let go and the bottle hit the floor and smashed into pieces. The milk went everywhere. Mira gasped, but before she could react, Darius stood next to her and tripped her and slammed her to the ground. He swatted down beside her and grabbed her by the hair, holding her face right above the milk. Drink up like a good little kitty, he yelled before slamming her face into the cold wooden floor of the hall. I said drink, he shouted again, as Mira stuck out her tongue and licked some of the milk up from the floor before making a face and spitting. I thought cats like milk, asked Emisyr, mocking her further. Mira looked up around the room. Where were the chaperones, she thought, not seeing any adults present. While scanning the room for help, her eyes caught Kikuri standing next to the other girls present. They were all pointing and laughing at her. Drink! Darius screamed while smashing her face once again into the floor. Mira's nose began to bleed, and the red blood mixed in with the white milk. She licked more of the milk up off the floor, tasting some of her blood as well. At least she bleeds red, said Azelle with a laugh. Cats bleed red, you idiot. It's not a surprise, answered Emisyr. Yeah, but she's not a normal cat. She's a freak hybrid, said Azelle. Lick it all up like a good kitty, commanded Darius. She did as he said, and licked as much of the milk up as she could, while trying to avoid the shards of glass made by the bottle. He let go of her hair and grabbed her dress and tried to pull her off the floor by it, but the fabric gave way and her dress ripped, revealing some of her underwear. Pretty sexy for a freak, huh, boys? He kicked her in the stomach and spit on her. Jeez. What is wrong with me? I wanted her to fight back. It's a slow burn for these characters. I'll just say that they come back around. Perseus Publishing. What do you mean by that? This is I just self-published this on Amazon like 100 years ago. Well, 4 years, 5 years ago now. Maybe Carrie level after all that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember him kicking her in the stomach and spitting on her. Your father can't tell us what to do, shouted Emisyr, grabbing at her clothing as well. She tried to pull away and defend herself, but the boys stopped pursuing. Azel had held his hands up to stop Emisyr and Darius. I think that's enough, said Azel. No one wants a go at her? Asked Darius. No one knew exactly what he meant, but the girls had a general idea and were suddenly disgusted. You actually want to be in that thing? None of us want to be, answered Emisyr. You're right. My luck I'd create more of her. Darius spit on the ground in front of her again. Come on, Kikuri, let's go. Azel put out his hand and Kikuri grabbed it before looking back at Mira with a smile. I can't believe I was friends with that monster, she said, giggling. Did you see how easy it was to get her to kiss me? Emisyr laughed as he walked with Darius out of the hall. I know, no girls ever want to kiss you, laughed Darius. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. I write some really dark stuff. I don't know why. And she's supposed to be like comedic relief. I hope she kicks their butt or gets revenge or something. Maybe we should read this whole thing. Maybe not tonight. I don't know if my voice will make it, but maybe we should read this whole thing on stream. Everyone cleared out of the hall. Not a single one of them approached Mira or tried to help her. She crawled backwards to the wall of the hall and sat there. She used what was left of her dress to wipe the blood from her nose and mouth and pulled the rest to cover herself. She began to weep. When she stopped shaking and had enough energy, she rolled over and began to crawl to the back entrance of the hall. Each time her hand landed on the ground, it made a slap noise. She slammed her way out of the hall, which had stairs leading out. She crawled down the stairs, each step bringing back pain to her abused body. Behind the hall the party took place in was a part of the forest that was a real forest and not a part of the village. Mira crawled into the darkness and crawled as far as she could before completely collapsing to the ground. Yeah. Pretty messed up chapter. Pretty messed up chapter. The sun shined through the trees in the forest down onto Mira's body. Her eyes slowly opened as she brought her forearm up to protect them. Did I die from him smashing my head, she thought. She looked to her right and saw the forest trees. Of course not. I'm not that lucky, she said out loud. She rolled over and tried to push herself up. She didn't feel any pain anymore. And when she stood up completely, she looked down at herself. Her dress was ripped in 3 different places, but she was able to adjust it so that her underwear wasn't showing anymore. She realized the blood on her face had dried up then she looked toward the village, but the direction she headed in was the opposite. She did not know what was out this far in the forest, and what she found was a small pond. She knelt down beside it and stared at her reflection. Am I really that much of a freak, she thought. She put her hands down and cupped some water to her mouth for a drink. She took some more and wiped away the dried blood on her nose and her forehead. She plopped down into a sitting position and ran her hand back and forth through the water. Okay. I wish I could sail the sea like Captain Charlotte. She couldn't help but recall a time when her father Ares told her that the waters outside of Chroma, the continent they lived on, were too unstable to sail on. She pouted before standing back up. I need to rid myself of this village. She walked back through the forest and crept up to the window of the hall they held the party in. There was a gathering going on inside, and she made her way around to the front of the hall. She overheard some voices inside, but didn't pay attention until she heard her mother. What do you mean you can't find her? She shouted through tears. Calm down, Nera, followed the voice of her father. We'll find her. It's been 10 days. How can no one find her in 10 days? 10 days? Thought Mira. I was laying there for 10 days? That can't be possible. I would have died. You should have, said oh, sorry, it's not aggressive. I know everything is aggressive so far in the story. So. You should have, said a voice behind her. Mira turned around and Tsuneo, the village elder, was standing behind her. He was a short old man with a long white beard, of course. He was still in good shape but looked fragile. He raised his index finger to tell her to be quiet, and she nodded. I cloaked you so that you wouldn't be found. It has caused your mother and father some grief, but what has happened to you under my watch is unforgivable. So in return, I feel you deserve a choice. A choice? Mira said in a whisper. The milk your father brought you that you were forced to drink, It saved your life. The milk is why I didn't die? You will take the milk, some clothing, and whatever else you want, and you will leave this village. I will not send anyone after you. Or you can remain and try to fit into our community. I will do my best to keep the boys and girls from treating you the way they have treated you. I will do my best to keep the boys and girls from treating you the way they have treated you. Okay, that makes sense. But I cannot make any promises. Why would you give me this choice, Elder? Because sometimes in life you just need to reinvent yourself. Mira imagined he was smiling under his beard, but had no way of knowing. I want to be out of this village. Then go, child, but know that it will not be an easy road. It's not the road that I'm worried about. It's the ocean. Mira walked past him and used the distraction of the town meeting to go into her house and change her clothes. She grabbed the chest of milk, opened it up, and chugged another bottle before leaving it on the kitchen table. She placed the pirate book she was reading into the chest and left. When she reached the end of the forest, she took the final step out of it, and the forest behind her completely disappeared. It caught her by surprise. Was it a dream? Has my life even been real? She put the chest down and began to dig. Once she made a large enough hole, she removed her pirate book from the chest and dropped the chest into the hole. She covered it back up with dirt and wiped some of the dirt off her clothes. She looked off in the distance and saw a large town. She nodded and brought the book up to her chest. Time to reinvent myself, she said with a smile. Okay, we'll do at least one more unless you guys want to keep going. I just need 1 second. Hold on. I feel very nasally, so I'm just gonna blow my nose real quick. I have to mute myself when I blow my nose because I'm very loud. When I blow my nose, I sound like an elephant. So I have to mute myself. I'm fine with either. If you want to stop there and read one more, is up to you. Mira's story is good though. I appreciate that. Yeah, I love reading about Mira. So like, all jokes aside, with what Spartan was talking about, I could definitely finish this book on stream right now. I like, this is like my favorite character I've ever made, so I'm always down to read more. We'll see how far we get before my throat gives out, I guess. Okay, chapter 4. I didn't name the chapters in this one, which I feel like at this point I was like naming chapters a lot. I think I did away with that at some point though. Like I think all the Soldier's Crest chapters had names, and then I removed them and just made it chapter 4. Excuse me. It was a long walk to the town she saw off in the distance. Her 16-year-old legs were beginning to give out on her, and her stomach was growling. Would she try to make an honest living in this town or be forced to steal to survive? Despite her current struggles, she did not regret her decision. If she did, the entire village vanished behind her, and she did not know if she would be able to find it again. She neared the village, but needed a distraction, so she opened her book. When Captain Charlotte finally entered the Abyssal Ruins, she began to read out loud. Just to hear anyone's voice, even her own, was a comfort at this point. She did not find the treasure she was seeking at first. Before Mira could go on, someone barreled into her, knocking her to the ground and causing her book to fly up in the air. She scrambled to catch it, then caught a glimpse of who knocked her over. It was a tall boy with blue hair. The boy was wearing ragged clothing that was covered in dirt and holes. "Watch where you're going," the boy yelled as he continued to run. Mira stared at him blankly before 3 adults rushed past her chasing the boy. A 4th adult came out screaming, "Give us back that watch, you little..." I'll say bastard always. "Give us back that watch, you little bastard," shouted the man. He could no longer see the boy or his pursuers, so he looked around and saw Mira sitting on the floor clenching her book. "Are you hurt, little girl?" "I'm fine," Mira answered, getting back to her feet. "Are you lost?" asked the adult. "No, just new to this place." "Then perhaps I can interest you in a Milwaukee specialty watch." The man pulled watches out from what seemed like nowhere. Mira stared at them. "I have no money, sorry." "I see. Well, enjoy your stay in Wintermelt," said the man, defeated. "Thank you," Mira said with a bow, and then made her way past the man into the town. The town was large, and every building had a blue tint like the color of the sky itself was becoming part of everything beneath it. The dirt ground beneath her feet even seemed to have some blue in it, and some buildings had small waterfalls cascading down into ponds. The sight of water made Mira's cat ears perk up, and she knew she was where she wanted to be. There was a large pub to the right as soon as she entered the village. The words River Way were on the front, on a dirty brown sign that must have been there for years. Mira walked up to the door and entered between 2 large male adults who were just exiting. She wrinkled her nose because they smelled of alcohol and had to sidestep one of them that was staggering out the door. Expecting nothing more than a bar inside, she quickly realized that this was just a place to hang out and not necessarily just a place to get drunk. Numerous people were sitting at tables all around her, talking and having a good time. She saw some adults with their children sitting at some of the tables as well. One of the children, a small boy, wandered over to a table with food set up on the side and looked around before grabbing a piece of bread and walking back over to his parents. Seeing the bread made Mira zone out everything else around her. She had not eaten for days and was walking a lot, so she was starving. The smell of the bread captivated her and drew her in like she was under a magic spell. She walked over to the pile of bread and took a piece for herself, looking around wondering if it was okay. She took a bite, and the bread melted in her mouth. Without even swallowing the piece she had bitten, she already felt rejuvenated. She closed her eyes, enjoying herself, only to open them to a large man dressed in all white, who looked furious. "Did you pay for that, young lady?" Mira wanted to answer, but her mouth was full of bread. She went to speak, but another boy grabbed her by her arm and dragged her off. "Hey, stop them!" shouted the chef. I don't know why that was a tongue twister, but it got me. Mira couldn't help but notice the boy that was dragging her along had 3 pieces of bread tucked under his free arm. They ran out of the pub. Mira was still stuffing some of the bread in her mouth as they ran. They made their way out of the farthest part of the village. There was a cave with a wooden building attached to it. The boy pushed Mira inside and then slammed the door shut behind them. This establishment, we're back to quotation. It's the theme of the night. This establishment was very similar to the pub she was just in. The only difference was this place was filled with children that looked like they were the same age or in a similar range to her age. Mira finally swallowed her bread. "What is this place?" asked Mira. The boy who dragged her along was placing the bread down on a nearby table. This is our hideout," the boy answered. He was young, much younger than Mira by his appearance. "Who is this, Raph?" A young woman came up beside him and ripped off a piece of the bread he just stole and took a bite. "Hell if I know, Nicolette. She was stealing on our turf." Mira noticed Raph had dark blue hair. Blue hair was common among residents of Azuldra, one of the 4 kingdoms of Chroma. "I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm just hungry." Mira held her hands up in surrender, but couldn't help but notice no one mentioned the fact that she was a cat girl. "You got a lot of nerve." Before the boy named Raph could continue, the other people in the room got up from their chairs and stood firmly. Mira heard the door behind her open, and in walked the boy who knocked her over from earlier. At her quick glance from before, she couldn't tell, but this boy was much taller and more muscular than the other kids. He was towering over her as he stood behind her. "That's enough," said the tall, blue-haired boy. His voice was deep and commanding. "Sir, she was stealing on our grounds. Bash her head in!" Raph yelled. Those words made Mira nervous. She did not know that her stealing would get her in this much trouble. I will do no such thing. He walked around Mira and stood in front of her. She's with me. Rapez, I didn't know, I'm sorry. Raph cowered before the tall boy. It's fine, Raph. Nicolette, what's the report? Only Raph could conjure up any food today, but Hawker and Pip are still out looking for supplies. There goes my voice. Sorry. Nicolette took another bite of bread and spoke with her mouth full. Any luck on your end? Just a watch. He held up the watch Mira saw him running off with earlier. I got some food, but I handed it off to Natai. He'll be bringing my portion in any minute. Can't remember if I pronounced that Natai or like Nitai. Don't remember. It's been a long time since I visited these characters. Okay. Nicolette walked over to Rapez and took the watch and examined it. Mira couldn't help but notice Nicolette's appearance. She was short with curly strawberry blonde hair. She had hazel eyes and a black hat that was barely secure on her head. She had the watch up close to her left eye, then shifted it over to her right eye. See, they could have used a gem loop that we learned about last week. See? This is how you learn things. She could have used a gem loop there. They just finished making this. How did you get your hands on it? Nicolette asked, handing the watch back to Rapez. You know me, I just walk in and take what I want. I think even the adults in this town are afraid of me. Rapez walked past the other kids and took a seat in a large wooden chair at the back of the hideout. There was a black coat hanging on the chair. Rapez himself was dressed in ragged clothes, a black torn-up t-shirt, black pants with a lot of sewn-on pockets, and shoes that were just as worn as the rest of his clothes. He leaned back on the chair and put his feet up on the table. You know I hate when you put your feet on the table, complained Nicolette, but Rapez ignored her and continued. It's like I always say, Nicole, he began, but Nicolette talked over him right back. I hate it when you call me Nicole, also. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. You never say that, she continued to follow up on everything he was saying. Yeah, I guess I don't. I heard it somewhere and it sounded like something I should say. Nicolette went to answer him again, but his loud booming voice drowned her out. You there! Get over here! He was tall enough to lift his hand and point over everyone and see what he was pointing at. Me? Said Mira. His voice frightened her and her tail went stiff. Yeah, you. Get over here, now. He pulled his feet down off the table and sat normally. She's not a pet, you know. She's a person, Nicolette said, standing next to Rapez with her arms folded. She don't look like a normal person, said Raph. Normal? Nothing in this world is normal. It's all ruined, said Rapez. The way he said it implied he was disgusted. What do we always say, Raph? Added Nicolette. Don't judge someone by their appearance, answered Raph in a mumble with his head down. Oh, knock it off, Nico. You're going to make him weak, said Rapez. Nico? That's even worse. That sounds like a nickname for a boy. Yeah, it's manly. That's a good thing. Rapez slapped his hand down on the table as the words left his mouth. I'm not a man, yelled Nicolette. Calm down, it's a strong-sounding name. He waved his hand as if to shoo her away. Anyway, what's your deal, cat girl? I'm Mira, is all she said, slowly walking towards them, still shaking. She had her hands clenched together in front of her and bowed when she reached them. Not from around here, obviously. I would remember someone like you in my town. Where did you come from? A forest? They told me it lies between Sanctivale and Azuldra, but this is my first time out of it. You're in Azuldra now. Why'd you leave? Who cares? Interrupted Raph. I do, answered Nicolette. Everyone in the room but you, fool, added Rapez. His words forced Raph to look around, and everyone in the room had stopped what they were doing to watch. So, Mira? I was picked on for looking different, she said, looking down. I grew accustomed to their bullying until it got physical. F 'em, said Rapez, standing up. What? Asked Mira, surprised by his response. You won't be treated that way here, not under my watch. We let in all kinds of misfits here. I don't care what you look like or sound like. If you're trying to make ends meet in this messed up world, then you have a place beside me. He put his thumb to his chest. I Don't know what to say, Mira said, wondering if it was okay to smile. But before Rapez could go on, the door swung open again. 3 boys barged into the room. The first boy was carrying a large black bag and loaves of bread under his arm in a similar way to Raph earlier. His hair was brown, his clothes were dirty like the rest, and he was wearing a black beanie. The second boy was smaller than everyone in the room. Mira knew immediately that he was the youngest among them. He had short blue hair like Raph, and was wearing clothes that didn't seem to fit. The last boy was tall, almost as tall as Rapez, and had long black hair. He wore a bandana, had a wooden bow hanging on his shoulder, and a quiver of arrows on his back. He was also carrying bags, which he placed down on a table, not far out from where Rapez was sitting. Good job, boys. Looks like we'll feast tonight. Rapez laughed while giving the taller boy a high five. Give me your bags, Nitai. The brown-haired boy handed the bags to Rapez. I was on my way back when Hawker got my attention. I had to backtrack and help him get some more goods, explained Nitai. What did you get, Pip? Raph asked, walking over to the young one. I didn't get anything, Pip said, pouting. Raph made a fist and brought it down on Pip's head. Ow, cried the little boy. You're such a failure, Pip. I'm not. I know I said we don't treat each other like that, but those two are brothers, so it's understandable, right? Rapez said to Mira. Yeah, Pip and Raph are going at it all the time. It's actually pretty funny, added Nitai. It's a headache, Nicolette chimed in, as she put her hand up to her forehead. Who's the girl anyway? Asked Nitai. Name's Mira. She's one of us now, said Rapez. Mira did not know what to think. She wasn't sure if being a part of this group was a good thing. Let's eat. Hawker, I need to discuss plans for the meeting with you. All right. The tall boy with the long black hair known as Hawker was a man of few words. So, have any friends, Mira? Asked Nitai. Have any boyfriends, he means? Raph laughed as he walked behind him chewing some bread. All the children were helping move the wooden tables together to form one large table for everyone to sit at. I left the place I'm from, but I have no friends from there, Mira said. The people there picked on her, added Nicolette. I know that feeling well, said Nitai. You do? Asked Mira, rubbing her side where Darius kicked her. We all do. We've all been there, said Nicolette. We're outcasts because we're poor and trying to survive. Sometimes we have to stoop low like this and steal just to eat. Why not change? Asked Mira. Nicolette grabbed some bread and handed it to Mira. Sometimes people around you make it hard to do that. But Rapez has plans to make us all rich. They might not be morally correct, but it's better than what the people of this town would give us. They won't give us anything, added Pip with another pout. So we just take it, said Raph. Hawker says the bandits outside Wintermelt are on the move already, said Rapez, walking over to them. Everyone sit down, he commanded, and everyone took a seat at the large wooden table. Mira was hesitant, but Nicolette offered her the chair beside her. Rapez stood at the front of the table where the chair he was sitting on earlier was located. The bandits are planning to attack the wealthiest people in this town. So Nicolette was right? Asked Raph. Yes, not that it's much of a surprise. Hawker saw them preparing just on the outside of the town. We expect them to be robbing everyone tonight. Do you think they will attack us? Asked Pip. Pip's the young one, so... Do you think they will attack us? Asked Pip, fear in his voice. I doubt it. Rapez sat down on his throne-like chair. Our hideout doesn't look like a place worth stealing from. Plus, we're not really part of the village. We should be ready just in case, decided Nicolette. Hawker and I will keep watch, said Rapez. I don't think any bandits would want to mess with me, and they don't look that strong, according to Hawker. Their plans aren't what's important about this. We'll be robbing them after they are done, tomorrow. Are you serious? Nitai put down the food he was eating. We're gonna rob a bunch of bandits? Yeah. Raph, Pip, and Nitai will provide the distraction. We know where their camp is. Once they're distracted, Mira, Hawker, and I are going to take them out. Mira stared blankly and froze in her place. She was lifting food to her mouth when Rapez said the words. She just kept blinking and staring at everyone. You're gonna bring this Mira girl? Do we even know if she can fight? Raph was speaking with his mouth full. Again. We're gonna find out. This will be a good initiation for her. If she fails, she'll probably die and won't be a problem for us anymore. If she helps, then we'll know she's good to keep around. I don't know about this, Nitai said. I agree with Rapez, said Nicolette, and the entire room followed in Mira's footsteps and froze. What? You actually agree with Rapez for once? Asked Raph. I don't believe it either, said Rapez. You think it's a good idea then? Mira is the most interesting person to come into this town in years. I'm curious to see what she can do. Nicolette looked at Mira and smiled. It's settled then. Tomorrow, assuming the bandits attack Wintermelt tonight. They will, Nicolette said confidently. Mira sat in silence for the rest of the meal, and no one brought up the bandit attack again. When everyone was finished, they all helped each other clean off the tables and push them back to their original positions. Nitai walked over to Mira as she was handing off the last of the leftover food to Nicolette. Rapaz told me to show you where you're sleeping tonight. I could sleep on the floor, said Mira. Don't be stupid. Then again, where you're sleeping is pretty close to sleeping on the floor anyway. He walked her over to a piece of wood connected to one of the walls. Don't feel bad, though. A lot of us sleep on this stuff still. Even Rapaz. He lets Nicolette and Agnes sleep on the comfortable beds. Agnes? Was she at dinner? I don't think I saw another girl. Nah. Agnes doesn't come out to eat. She's somewhat of a prisoner. Rapaz gives a prisoner a more comfortable bed than you guys? Mira sat down on the wood and pushed her hand down to feel how soft it was. It wasn't. It's complicated. Agnes was a nurse of Wintermelt. She's much older than us. We kidnapped her because a lot of us were getting sick, and Rapaz and Nicolette couldn't figure out what to do. Agnes likes us, though. She doesn't want to admit it because Rapaz kind of took her rights away. I see. It does sound complicated. It's cool, though. Agnes heals us up when we fall down, and we fall a lot. Don't we all? Mira said, inviting an awkward silence. Anyway, Raph said you dropped this when he caught you stealing. Hawker found it and brought it with him. He handed her the pirate book she was reading. Oh, I forgot all about it. How dumb of me. She accepted the book. Don't worry about it. It happens. Have a good night, Mira. Good luck tomorrow. You too, Mira answered. Nitai walked off towards where he sleeps. The whole situation was just fast and odd to Mira. She laid down on her wooden bed and opened the book. She was halfway through it when she got to Wintermelt, and she decided she would finish it that night. Sorry, I'm going to have to clear my throat a lot. But... She stayed up all night reading the book. She could not hear anything outside the hideout and wondered if the bandits were attacking Wintermelt. She finished the book and couldn't help but smile as she fantasized of what it would be like to sail the sea outside Chroma. To feel the wind blowing through her hair, as they described it in the book. Captain Charlotte found her treasure, but it was nothing spectacular. She found that part interesting. The light of a candle broke her train of thought, and she reached for a weapon, but there was nothing around her. If it was the bandits, she had to warn the others, but it was just Rapaz. Can't sleep? He asked. I was reading. She patted the book. You could read too? That makes 3 in the group now. You and Nicolette? Nah, I struggle still. Agnes is the other. I could teach you, it's not that hard. Mira sat up. I'll leave the thinking to the smart ones, I'm just the muscle. He flexed with one hand while holding the candle in the other. That was worded weird. I probably could have done that better. Oh, Mira said. She didn't know if she should be impressed. Rapaz was quite the physical specimen, especially compared to the scrawny ninjas of her village. Anyway, you should get some rest for tomorrow. I don't think I could sleep right now even if I wanted to. That book was that good, huh? He asked Mira, and she nodded. All right then, come with me, I'll show you something. Mira put the book down and followed Rapaz. He took her to a back room that she didn't even notice earlier when they were talking. The room had a lot of books along the perimeter, but the middle of the room was empty. There was another door, but it was closed. He pointed it out to Mira first. We need to be quiet. Nicolette and Agnes are sleeping in there, he said in a whisper. I've been waiting for someone to share these with. I don't feel the other kids can handle these. He walked over to a table near the far wall and put the candle down far from the books. He took out 2 small daggers and handed them handle first to Mira. Daggers? I'm sure you probably don't know how to use those, but I feel like daggers are more of a woman's weapon. Nicolette doesn't fight and the other boys are too reckless for something this precise. Mira held the 2 daggers and just stared at them. Swing them around if you want, just don't be loud about it. I'd rather train in the morning, she said. Ah, but we're thieves, Mira. We sneak around a lot. If you can't fight quietly, you might not have a spot on our team, Rapaz said with a smile, but it didn't comfort her. Now show me what you got. He pulled a sword off the table he just retrieved the daggers from. It'll make noise when the weapons touch, Mira pointed out. That won't wake him. Mira shrugged and stood ready. You can attack and I'll just parry. You won't hit me. She stepped into a swing and Rapaz dodged it. You're quick. Because you're a cat? Maybe. She swung again and Rapaz backed away from it. Don't be afraid, Mira. I'll take it easy on you. I would never hurt one of my own. Mira attacked again and again, each attack being avoided by Rapaz. He was quick despite his large size and strength. Finally, she attacked and he grabbed her wrist. I'll take it easy on you, but I'm not going to let you win. He pulled her close. You move so quietly. It's almost like you're not moving at all. How close he pulled her made her tense up. The last time she was this close to a boy, Amasir was tricking her. You can hear my movements? I don't hear anything. I can hear everything you do. Each step, each movement, it's a symphony in my head. It's my gift. Rapaz let her go as soon as he felt her pull. She stumbled backwards but gathered herself before falling. You make noise to me still, but it's so faint, like our whispers. Mira once again did not know what to say. They stood in silence and partial darkness for a few seconds before Mira shot forward. The dagger in her right hand just barely missed Rapaz's cheek. He stepped back and smiled, but Mira launched another attack that almost connected, but Rapaz blocked it with the sword. Wow, Mira, maybe you were the one taking it easy. In my school, we trained with weapons like these. Combat training in school? Must have been a weird village you grew up in. The lights turned on and a tall, beautiful woman with long red hair walked into the room, rubbing her eyes. She was much more mature looking than the children. What was that noise? It sounded like metal. Her voice was soft. Mira could see why the children found her comforting. Rapaz looked at his sword, then at Mira. I guess you were right, he said with a laugh. Are you fighting? Asked Agnes, walking over and taking the sword from Rapaz, who towered over her. Just training our new recruit. This is Mira. Mira, this is Agnes. Nice to meet you, said Agnes. Same. Mira smiled at her. You two should go to sleep. Now is not the time to be training. You will wake the others. Agnes turned around and headed back to her room. Hold on to the daggers, Mira. You'll need them tomorrow. I'll walk you back to your bed with the candle. Okay, Mira said. Do you own a cutlass? What's that? It's a curved sword. Pirates use them. Rapaz laughed. Pirates? He blurted out way too loud. He covered his mouth, wishing he could take it back. Don't laugh. Pirates are cool, Mira said, waving the dagger around in her hand. Are you really a pirate, Mira? He was still laughing, just not as loud. No, she said, sounding like Pip, but I think I want to be. Little innocent Mira wants to be a pirate. That's great. Shut up, Mira said, walking ahead of him. How are you going to sail the sea when it's so unstable? You know about that, right? He walked faster to match her pace and to avoid talking louder. I'll find a way, she said with a smile. A smile too, huh? Finding me changed your personality. It was just practice. Yeah. Go get some sleep. I'm gonna go check on Hawker. I'll try. They started walking their separate ways. Hey, Mira, Rapaz said, whispering in the darkness. Mira turned to face him. Keep the smile. I think you're growing on me. My voice is departing. What do we think so far, chat? How far along are we already? Whoops. We're almost 40 pages in already. It's crazy. Give me 1 sec. I'm playing Monster Hunter and listening. I love Mira. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep going. I'll do another chapter or two and see how we feel about it. I just went to go get another bottle of water. I think I'm gonna sit though. Standing is I like reading while standing a lot better, but I don't want to stand for too long. Maybe I'll do one more chapter, then I'll sit down. I sit all the time. I've been sitting all day. So I'll try to tough it out one more chapter. All right. All right, chapter 5. We're gonna be like more than halfway through this if I keep going. Really regretting not getting those honey cough drops now. Next week I'll have them. That's my mission between now and next Tuesday. All right, here we go. Rapez and Hawker stood far from the bandit camp located beyond a cliff outside of Wintermelt. Raph, Pip, and Natai were hiding above the cliff looking over. What are we waiting for? Asked Natai. That Mira girl, said Raph. Rapez said we can't start until she's ready. Nicolette is helping her prepare. Prepare? What's there to prepare? This is a robbery, not a ballroom dance. What's a ballroom dance? What's a ballroom dance? Asked Pip. Shut up, Pip. You're so stupid, yelled his brother. It was just a question. Keep it down, Raph, warned Rapez, coming up behind him. Mira will be here soon. I'm sending her in by herself to distract them. I thought we were the distraction, asked Nitai. Not anymore. You three will watch and help me decide if we're keeping Mira around. Nicolette already thinks we should. What if she fails or gives away our location? Asked Nitai. I can beat all those guys by myself. I'm not worried about that. Let's see what the cat can do. As if on cue, Mira came swinging in on a rope attached to one of the trees nearby. She landed in the middle of the bandit camp. What the hell is she doing? Yelled Rapez, almost giving away their location on his own. What is she wearing? Asked Nitai, peeking over the cliff with a smile. She looks cool, exclaimed Pip. She's gonna look dead in a minute, added his brother. That hat doesn't even fit, said Hawker. He had the best eyesight out of all of them. Go get a closer look. Rapez pointed Hawker in the direction of a tree closer to the camp. The bandits aren't moving yet, but I will. Hawker moved towards his new spying location. Mira had landed in a spot that put all of the bandits around her. They were each sitting down eating near a fire when she arrived. All of them were staring at her, laughing and trying to flirt with her. Despite her young age, Mira was maturing quickly, and when Nicolette dressed her in amplified that effect even further. The wrong effect. She was wearing a white t-shirt with frills that were tucked into a corset. The corset was tight, but the white t-shirt was too large for her. She wore tight black pants and black heel boots. She wore a large black pirate hat that was too large for her head. She kept pushing it up with the tip of one of the daggers that Rapez gave her to help her see. She did not hold the daggers up in a hostile manner. Instead, she kept them by her side as she walked around the camp. Well, boys, it looks like our luck is really improving. A beautiful woman just fell into our camp. The bandit, boasting about their apparent fortune, was their leader. He wore a helmet that only covered the top of his head and nose. He was the only bandit wearing body armor as well. And who are ye to determine whether I be good or bad luck? Mira pointed her dagger at the armored bandit. I am Roscoe. That makes me think of that commercial where it's like, where's Roscoe? That might be a New York only commercial, actually. It's like a dog. I don't even remember what the company is. But there's these guys driving around and they're like, where's Roscoe? They were like really New York accents. And they were like, oh, where's Roscoe? And then some guy yells, he's working. It's a thing. That just made me think of it. I am Roscoe, leader of the Azoldra bandits. He held up a large cup of ale as he spoke. A sad lot ye be. Mira turned her back to him and began walking seductively through the camp. To believe ye even had a chance with a beautiful woman like me. Each of ye is a bigger disgrace than the other. What did you say? Roscoe stepped forward and all the bandits were getting riled up. If she won't give it up, boss, let's just take it, said one of the bandits. She's some kind of unknown creature, said another one. You never heard of that? Yeah, it might be a New York only thing because it's like a bunch of New Yorkers, and I think it's something located in New York. But it's probably on YouTube if you just look up like where's Roscoe or whatever. It's that was mad random, but yeah, it's a thing. I don't understand the hesitation, said Mira, turning back to their leader with a smile. She lifted her hat with her dagger again and leaned forward to show them some of her underdeveloped cleavage. She purred and licked the dagger before moving it down to her crotch. If you want some of this for... She's dragging her R's, but... forbidden fruit, then come and get it. God, she's embarrassing herself, said Rapez with his hand on his forehead. I think she's doing great, added Nitai, practically falling off the cliff. Why is she talking like that, asked Pip. You could hear her from here, asked his brother. Yeah, she keeps saying yee and purring and stuff, he said with a shrug. She's trying to be a pirate, explained Rapez as he sighed and shook his head. We need to move in, said Hawker, returning to them. Wait a little more, a soft voice said behind them. Nicolette, you never come out on missions. Raph went forward to greet her. You too? Asked Nitai. His question was in reference to Nicolette's outfit. She was wearing makeup, which she never does, red lipstick with black and white paint on her face. The black paint was shaped in different designs. She was wearing black pants similar to Mira's and a red dress over it. She wore black boots herself, but they weren't as long and the heel wasn't as big as Mira's. I couldn't resist. It was too much fun dressing Mira. I haven't had fun like that in a long time. Nicolette answered as she looked down to admire herself. You must share every detail later, pleaded Nitai. How fares the cat? She asked, peering over the cliff. The bandits have grown tired of her act already, answered Hawker. Ye don't know how to use your sword, do you? Asked Mira, frowning. The other bandits laughed, but Roscoe was no longer laughing. Mira took a step back and grabbed both daggers, but she hit a twig and fell clumsily backwards. Roscoe, I don't remember her falling. She's trying to be all cool and she just like falls backwards over a twig. Roscoe ran over and drew his sword ready to strike, but the sword of Rapez found the bandit leader's right eye. Roscoe staggered backwards, holding his face and screaming. Are you insane? Rapez yelled, putting out his hand to help Mira up. She lost her hat in the fall and left it on the ground. She would need to be able to see during the fight. I would have been fine, Mira said, dusting herself off. Before Rapez could answer, all of the bandits drew their weapons. I guess we're doing this the hard way. Rapez stepped in front of Mira. Stay behind me and you'll be safe. He turned to get approval from Mira, but found a vacant spot behind him. When he faced forward again, a bandit was slicing at him. He blocked the attack and stabbed the bandit straight through his stomach. Mira! He roared. Where the hell did she go? Due to his height, he was able to see over the bandits. Far in the back of their ranks, he saw bandits with their backs turned fighting someone. Mira was on the complete opposite side of the camp fighting bandits with her daggers. She blocked an overhead attack with both and slashed her opponent's stomach and throat. She moved through her enemies fluidly, cutting them down and evading their strikes with ease. She's so fast, said Pip. I've never seen anyone fight like that, added his brother. In a matter of seconds, the battle was over, and the bandits were defeated. Each lay flat on their back, dead or dying. Roscoe was crawling on his hands and knees. The hole where his right eye used to be was bleeding profusely, leaving a trail of blood as he crawled. Mira walked with her seductive strut slowly behind him. Rapez had already put his sword away and had his arms folded. Thwarted by a bunch of children, Roscoe yelled as he surveyed the battlefield with his good eye. My eye! Mira stepped on his back and forced him to the dirt. She pulled one of the daggers back. Mira, wait, Rapez said behind her, and she froze in place. We're going to tie him up and leave him outside the Wintermelt jail. The others joined as he spoke the words. We're going to turn in the bandit but keep the money? Nitai questioned as he ran up beside them. No, we're going to return the money also. Rapez knelt down and took a rope that was hanging from his pants and used it to tie up Roscoe's hands. Okay, Nitai laughed. Wasn't the whole point of this to get the money so we could live more comfortably? Hate to say it, but Nitai has a point, Raph added. Why go through all the trouble to give this money back to the people who haven't helped us get back on our feet? They haven't even considered ever helping us. If we show the people of Wintermelt that we can protect them, they'll help us. Rapez picked Roscoe up off the floor. In turn, it should lead to some better treatment. I don't feel like it's our decision anyway. Hawker walked up behind them. We didn't do any of the work, we just watched from afar. Meaning the decision should be up to Rapez and Mira, said Nicolette. Rapez put his hand over Roscoe's mouth as the bandit attempted to say something. He looked down at Mira beside him. The white shirt Nicolette dressed her in had some blood on it now. Well, what do you say, Mira? Mira hesitated at first and looked at the rest of the group for approval, but none of them showed what they were thinking. She looked up at Rapez. I agree with Rapez, she said. We'll give the money back. All right then. Rapez shoved Roscoe along. Hawker, come with me and we'll deliver him to the night station in Wintermelt. Nicolette, help the others gather up the money and bring it to the hideout, or return it in the morning. Okay. I am going to sit for this next one, because my legs are starting to hurt. Okay. Hold on tight, chat. We're going down. Okay. If I look uncomfortable, it's because I am. I hurt my tailbone on like Christmas. And it's still sore. Like the tailbone takes a really long time to heal. You know, plus I just had butt surgery like 5 months ago. But on top of that, I'm really skinny, so I'm really bony. And I was playing with my niece. We were putting stuff together for her for Christmas, and I was sitting on the floor we have upstairs, and it's like a wooden floor. And I think I like bruised my tailbone. I know it's like a pathetic story, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened, and it like has not healed since. Okay. I'm sharing a lot of TMI stuff tonight, but that's why I always look comfortable on stream. Uncomfortable on stream, I should say. All right, chapter 6. What do we do? We'll do one more, two more. We'll see. We'll see how far along we are after 2. It'd be cool to get like halfway, then we could do the other half on stream next week, maybe. The next morning, Rapez was laying on his wooden bed. His half-naked large body was sprawled out with one foot completely on the floor. It was hard to tell exactly how he fit or how he could even be comfortable in such a small space. Nikolai walked up beside him and kicked the foot that was planted on the floor. Wake up, she said as she gave him another kick. Rapez, wake up! What happened? Rapez said groggily. He rubbed his eyes as he got into a sitting position. Is something wrong? Remember that night station here, Sir Aralik or whatever? Yeah, what about him? Rapez stood up and put a shirt on. He's outside and he's yelling for you, by name. Nicolette started to leave to the area where the children dined on the bread a few days ago. Then my note worked. Rapez followed her. What note? Asked Nicolette. Hawker and I left a note for the mayor. I had to make sure they knew it was us who saved the day. Rapez got near the door and heard the knight outside. I'm not sure they're happy about it. He's not calling for you in a friendly tone, Nicolette said. As Rapez turned to face her, he saw the others hiding behind her. Where's Mira? Rapez asked. She's a heavy sleeper, apparently, Nicolette responded. Natai, go get Mira. The rest of you are coming outside with me. The rest were hesitant, but the moment Rapez opened the door, they rushed to his side. They wouldn't let him face whatever was waiting for him outside alone, not after all he had done for them up until this point. When Rapez stepped outside, he saw the knight in question, Sir Aralik. He wasn't an official member of the Blue Tide, the highest-ranking knights of Azuldra, but he liked to act like he was just as important. On either side of him were 2 more Azuldra knights, and behind them were many of the townspeople of Wintermelt. Rapez raised his arm as if to quiet the crowd, but no one was actually saying anything. Please, hold your applause, he shouted. No one is clapping, you idiot, Nicolette said under her breath. The man they call Rapez, Sir Aralek said as he removed his helmet, revealing short blue hair and blue eyes. He placed his helmet under his arm. Judging by the note you left us, I assume you're the man responsible? You guessed right, Rapez answered. I took down the bandits and I retrieved that which was stolen from all of you. You took it upon yourself to handle official Azuldra business, Sir Aralek said. You have no right. I took matters into my own hands and took care of the problem. I did you a favor, Rapez said in his defense. He felt as if he was being attacked, but didn't think he did anything wrong. Did us a favor? One of the knights beside Sir Aralek laughed after he spoke. By leaving a trail of dead bodies in the Wintermelt fields? Did you think there would be no consequences for your actions, kid? Sir Aralek couldn't help but laugh as well. You can't go around killing people even if you think your intentions are just. Rapez was caught speechless. He didn't think killing bandits would be a problem since they were considered bad people. Nothing to say for yourself? Sir Aralek added, We will lock you and your friends up and let the mayor decide. No need. I have already decided, a voice said from the crowd of Wintermelt citizens. Out stepped a short, older woman with long blue hair. Her brown eyebrows gave away the fact that she was not a native to Azuldra. Mayor Hethersby, don't remember this character's name at all. Obviously not a super important character, but important in this moment. Mayor Hethersby, Sir Aralek said as he took a step back to make way for the mayor. I understand that these children were just doing what they thought was the right thing to do. She looked at Rapez as she spoke. Mira and Nitai emerged from the door behind them. Mira was disheveled, wearing some of the clothes she originally showed up to Wintermelt in and some of her pirate outfit. You could easily tell that Nitai just woke her up from a deep sleep. That being said, murder is a most heinous act, even if it is bandits who tried to steal from us. Then what do you suggest? Rapez said. The earlier statement by Sir Aralek calling him a kid was hard to take serious due to the fact that Rapez towered over the knights in front of him. Are you going to lock us in prison for trying to help the people of this town? No. Her words shocked the knights. You did help us in your own unorthodox way. I will have my knights enter your establishment and retrieve what belongs to the people of Wintermelt. You all will not be locked in prison unless you're still here in the morning. She can't do that, Raph yelled. This is our home, too. She's the mayor, said Nicolette, defeated. Whatever she says goes. Those knights will enforce it. We have to leave? Pip said, pouting yet again. Rapez, yes. The mayor once again only spoke in his direction. Rapez nodded. I want to speak with you in my office. The rest of you help the knights retrieve our belongings. Sir Aralek, if you would. The two knights next to Sir Aralek entered the hideout with Nicolette, showing them where everything was. Sir Aralek himself escorted Rapez and the mayor to her office. Rapez made it a point to stand taller than he normally does, with his chest puffed out as he walked beside the knight. The mayor opened the door and stepped inside. Sir Aralek made Rapez enter next, then stepped in. No need for you to be here, Sir Aralek, thank you. The mayor held her hand towards the door to show Sir Aralek out. Mayor Hethersby, I don't think it's safe to be left alone with this immature savage, Sir Aralek said. I think you're over-exaggerating, the mayor said. I will call for you if I need you. With a sigh, Sir Aralek left and closed the door behind him. You must excuse the Azuldra knight. Where he sees an immature savage, I see a young man trying to make a difference. The mayor sat down in her chair behind her desk, then put her hand out once more to offer a chair to Rapez. He sat down, barely fitting in the seat. I thought taking down the bandits and returning what was stolen would lead to me and my friends getting the help we need to make ends meet. I meant no disrespect, Rapez said, surprisingly formal. I have let your group run wild in my streets because I thought you were of no harm to me and my people. I see now I was wrong. Rapez went to answer, but the mayor spoke over him. Murder is indeed a heinous act. I stand by my words. You will leave this town by tomorrow morning, or I will be forced to take action. Rapez stood and went to speak again, the anger apparent on his face, but the much smaller mayor once again rose to thwart his attempts to speak. Heed my warning, though, boy. Her tone was just as angry. The bandits you stopped yesterday were no mere bandits. They were members of a group known as the Shade, and they will not take your actions lightly. The Shade was like my answer to the Hand from Marvel, by the way. They were supposed to be like, evil ninja people. You let them rob you. Rapez calmed down and took a step back away from the mayor. You let them rob your people because you were afraid of the consequences if you fought back. This involves something much larger than you and I assure you. It may be too late for you now, but you don't want to get involved in the affairs of the Shade, said the mayor. This was before, throwing shade at people was a thing, too. Yeah, it might be okay for you and your people to lay down and take a beating, but that's not what me and my people are about. Rapez opened the door and slammed it behind him on his way out. You're lucky, Sir Erlich said as Rapez walked by him. If I had my way, you'd be in prison already. Rapez stopped and turned to face the knight. That's the difference between you and I, Erlich. You worry about the ifs, and I make what I want to happen happen. Rapez walked away as Sir Erlich responded, but Rapez didn't even hear what he said. Instead, he was focused on the next move for him and his friends. The knights had finished removing the townspeople's belongings by the time Rapez returned. He walked in through the front door where the other children were waiting for him. Mira was leaning against the wall next to the table. She still looked tired. Nicolette was the other one to rise out of her chair when Rapez entered, but everyone remained silent as he slowly walked over to his chair at the head of the table. Rapez surveyed the room. Why do you all look so defeated? Because we are, Raph said. We lost, added Pip. We went to stop bandits and return what they stole, said Rapez. You ask me, that's a win. We did what we set out to do. Now we're going to be out of a home, said Nicolette. That wasn't part of the plan. I get it. Rapez started walking around the table. You look at this raggedy, beat-up house in the back of an actual town and you'd think to yourself, this is home. He put one hand on Raph's shoulder and the other on Pip's. You step outside and smell the fresh, damp air and the food we often steal from the marketplace and you'd think, these are the smells I grew up with. He made his way over to Nicolette and stood beside her. I get it, he repeated, but I need you all to see what I see. I look around this table and I see Hawker. We gave him that nickname. We took him in as one of our own. Not just because he's essential to our survival with his gift of sight and his skill with a bow, but because we consider him a brother. He's just like us. The best day of my life when you took me in, Hawker added. I look at Raph and Pip, orphaned at a young age, two brothers who I found hiding in a kitchen just a block away from here. I see two of my own brothers, who I tucked in at night when they went to sleep, and was willing to slap, punch, and kick any monsters hiding under their bed. The two boys looked at each other, then at Rapez before nodding to him. The tie was a creep. They all laughed as he started, chasing around girls in the town square in torn-up clothing, begging them for a night of fun, then begging for some food. We were embarrassed for him, but we also knew he belonged among us, as one of our own. You saved me, man, Natai said as he pretended to sob through his words. I should have put my homie. Another round of laughter accompanied his act. Rapez leaned down to put an arm around Nicolette, who made a face in protest of the gesture. Nikki and I formed this group because we ourselves were misfits, with no place to go and no place to call home. We made this home. Not the foundation itself, not the people who actually built the damn thing. We made it home. He looked around the room at everyone listening to him intently. As far as I see it, home is wherever Nicolette is. Home is wherever Raph and Pip are running around abusing each other. Home is where Natai is, being his weird-ass self. Home is where Hawker is, by my side, helping me scout our next adventure. Heck, he finally looked up at Mira. She had been smiling the whole time he was talking. Home is wherever Mira is. Even if some of her actions yesterday made me question my own morals. He inspired me to be myself, Mira said. And as far as I see it, home is wherever we want it to be as long as we're together. So yeah, this beat-down place is home right now, but it doesn't mean we can't make a new one somewhere else. Can't believe I'm saying this again so soon, but Rapez is right. Home is wherever we are as long as we're together. Nicolette stood up at Nicolette looked up at Rapez and smiled. See, if Nicolette and I agree, then it must be true. Rapez patted Nicolette on the head and she slapped his hand away. Gather what you need, what you can carry, and throw on some good clothes. When we walk out of this hideout for the last time, we're not going to walk out there sulking. We're not going to give those knights and the mayor the satisfaction of thinking they ousted us. We're going to walk out of here proud of what we did and excited for whatever life throws us next. Repez left the room to get his things as the other children cheered in response. Mira, finally awake, darted after him. Nice speech, she said. If you talk from the heart, stuff like that happens on its own, Repez said. He reached where he normally sleeps and knelt down under the bed to grab some of his extra clothing. So, what's the plan? Mira sat on his wooden bed, barely able to make direct eye contact with Repez when he was kneeling. He stopped rummaging through his things to look at her. Sorry. He stopped rummaging through his things to look at her. You have a plan, right? If I tell you, you promise not to get mad? Repez answered. He looked around as if he lost something specific. I don't have much of a choice but to follow your lead now. I'm open to any ideas, she replied as she tried to look for what he was looking for. Lose something? Yeah. He was practically laying flat on his stomach when he found it. His discovery made him excited, and in turn he banged his head on the wooden bed. The impact almost knocked Mira off of it. Found it! He revealed a small silver coin with a skull on it. On the opposite side were engravings that looked like a puff of smoke. A coin? Is it worth anything? Mira's eyes perked up at the sight. It had looked like the coins described in the books about Captain Charlotte Blackwater. Calm down, you filthy pirate, he said with a smile as he flipped the coin to her. She flipped it over in her hands. Those bandits we stopped yesterday. The mayor said they're part of a group known as the Shade. I didn't think bandits were part of a group. Mira bit down on the coin. What are you doing? It's not food, Repez said. I don't know. I remember reading that people do this, but I forgot why. Mira shrugged and returned the coin to him. Look, the Shade are going to hear about what we did. They're going to come looking for us. Repez sat down next to Mira. She thought he would break the wooden bed off the wall with his weight. Raph, Pip, and Nicolette aren't great fighters. Agnes is definitely the worst at fighting among us. That leaves me, you, Hawker, and maybe Nitai. Why maybe? Mira asked. No clue. I've never seen him actually fight before. He might have some skill, but it's doubtful. Me, you, and Hawker could take on an entire faction of bandits, Mira started. But Repez just laughed. It's not funny, it's serious. Why can we? Me, you, and Hawker can't take on an entire faction of bandits, Mira started, but Repez just laughed. It's not funny, it's serious. Why can't we? Repez stood up and turned to face her. You and I took down several yesterday, just the two of us. If those were members of the Shade, they're probably stronger than your average bandits. If we could take them down, I bet we could take down the whole organization. Wait, Repez, you need to think about this. Stopping them from hurting the others because of our actions is one thing. What you're implying is that you want to take them all down just to say that we can. Mira also stood up, though she still needed to look up to speak to him. You're trying to pick a fight that we might not be able to win. Not with that attitude, said Repez. He walked into the room where he trained with Mira and woke Agnes up a few nights prior. Mira followed him. I know you're trying to be cautious and plan ahead, but it's really not my style. If you're gonna have to just trust me on this one. He knocked on the door of the room where Agnes sleeps. What happened? Agnes said once she opened the door. Long story, we're being kicked out of the house. Repez took a few steps back and leaned on a bookcase. Not really sure what we would do without you, but you're free to go if you like. What did you do now? Agnes took a few steps out of the room and looked down the hallway at the other kids who were all packing and getting their things together. Honestly, Repez folded his arms. We tried to do the right thing. The mayor took it the wrong way, and she wants us out by tomorrow. That's the short version. The long version involves bandits and trying to return everyone's property, Mira said. You fought with bandits? Did anyone get hurt? Agnes looked directly at Repez as she said it. No, Mira and I did all the fighting. They weren't that strong. Repez gave a look around the room to see if there was anything worth taking. Should we take some of these books? I'll need one on the far bookshelf. Agnes pointed to the one she meant. I think the book is called Home Remedies. Other than that, it's up to you. Only Nicolette and I can read, so it might be a waste to carry all these books. Forgot to tell you, the cat could read too. Repez said as he walked over to retrieve the book she wanted. Unable to read the titles, he pointed to the book in the middle, then looked back at Agnes for her approval. She shook her head. He moved to the next book over to the right, and both Agnes and Mira nodded. Good to know, Agnes said with a smile in Mira's direction. Give me a few minutes to gather my things. So you're definitely coming with us? Mira asked. Who else is going to patch up Rapez the next time he does something stupid? Agnes said with a sigh. You make it sound guaranteed, Rapez said with a laugh. It is. Agnes took the book from Rapez, then closed her door. I'm going to help the others prepare. Rapez walked towards the hallway before turning back to face Mira. You should look through the books and see if there are any you want to bring with you. Maybe another pirate book in there or something. Rapez left Mira alone in the room and she immediately started to glance over the books. Some of the books must have been written ages ago, as a lot of the topics were things Mira didn't understand. Her first instinct was to try to find another pirate book, but the first book that stood out was a history book. Demonology and Creation. Mira read the title aloud. She removed the book from the shelf and began going through the pages. After reading a few sentences, she knew she wanted to read the rest. She looked over the rest of the books to see if there was anything else that caught her interest. Feeling that she could only afford to carry one on the journey, she kept her first selection and exited. I don't know what I was going to say. Something about eggs. And exited the room to join the others. Everyone ready? Rapez asked as he stood in front of the door. A few nods and a random, I think so, from Natai was enough for him as he opened the door. Before he stepped out, he turned back to them. Remember, keep your head up high. All right, how far along is that? 58. Probably do one more chapter, and then we'll finish it next week, maybe. I'm just going to run to the bathroom real quick. BRB. Okay. All right, chapter 7. When I just read like for 3 hours straight, I get like lightheaded a little bit. I was also just thinking of when I think of that though, like I was like on my way up the stairs, I was thinking like, oh, when I read like this a lot, I get a little lightheaded. Made me think of Final Fantasy 11 when you get lightheaded but only briefly. Is one of the status effects when you're running through. I can't think of how to pronounce it. I know the place. I just can't think of how to pronounce it. It's got like a French name. Okay. Anyway. Sitting down is so painful for me. I got the standing desk just in time. But also standing for a long period of time. Oh yeah, I think it was in there as well. I'm gonna hold on. Let me look up the place I was thinking of. Let's make sure I have the spelling right. Yeah, the Quada variant, this one. How do you pronounce that? So like almost like Beto, like what's her name from Genshin Impact? Yeah, and I just whenever I think of just whenever I hear lightheaded in general, that's immediately where my mind goes. All right. I know I always pronounce that as Beto. Or Bia, like Bea. I think it's just pronounced Beto, like the girl from Genshin, but it's spelled differently than the girl from Genshin. Okay, let's do one more chapter and then we'll see how this one ends. I don't remember. And then what do we do? We will. I might just stop after that. Next week should be easier to do this for longer if I have those honey drops or whatever. And maybe I gotta find a way to like break up the reading. Like maybe we should do the I think maybe we should do the choose your own adventure stuff in the middle because I don't have to talk as much because I'm writing more than I'm talking. Like we still have to like talk to like act it out or whatever, but it's broken up in a way where like my voice gets a little break. I'm not just like reading the whole time. What's in like I know I'm like reading and talking the entire like time with these versus like gaming. But like I could sit down and write for hours. So it doesn't have to do with me staring at the screen, I don't think. I think it's more just the combination of everything. And maybe the more we do it, the more accustomed to it I'll get. But yeah, we'll do one more chapter and then I'll probably wrap up a little earlier than normal tonight. But yeah, we definitely tomorrow night we definitely got either we're gonna do more 7 remake achievements or we're gonna do the I might mess around with the Grand Blue Fantasy demo a little bit more. I kind of want to get Pal World, but that doesn't come out till like Friday, I think. Maybe Friday night stream we'll do Pal World. I don't know. I'm undecided. It looks fun, but it might just be fun for like a little bit and then we'll get bored. It's also in early access, so it's not like a finished game. And I might want to just save my money for like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink comes out February 1st, and then we have like a while before anything else I'm interested in comes out. I kind of want to get I want to get Dragon's Dogma 2 and I want to get Rise of the Ronin when it comes out, but both of those come out in the middle of March, and we'll still be playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at that point. So I'm not going to get those like as soon as they release, but maybe that's something we could play on stream in like April or something. But it's just something I have them written down to keep in mind. Do I have anything else? Oh, Foam Stars. Foam Stars, I think, is going to be free, though, so I don't have to worry about that one too much. We might play that. Foam Stars is like Square Enix Splatoon. I played the demo. It's like kind of fun. If it's free, we'll try that on stream. If it's not, we ain't playing it. Like, I wouldn't spend money on it, but I definitely would play it. Oh, the other thing coming out in March is Don't follow me, camera. You follow me, camera guy? Remember the slap chop guy? That's what he used to say in the commercial. You follow me, camera guy? That's what this camera reminds me of. There's a game called Unicorn Overlord that's coming out in March. It's like it reminds me of what is the game I'm thinking of? It'll come to me. Come on. Ogre Battle 64. Reminds me of Ogre Battle 64. It looks dope. I definitely want to get that. But again, like anything that comes out in March, we're not going to be playing because we're just going to be playing 7 Rebirth probably all month. So yeah, that's probably not happening. But those are games we'll get later. Cough play 14, cough. We could maybe play 14 on a Friday. I gotta start streaming on Thursdays, I think. We have too many games to play now and not enough streams. Like Steve is gonna have some time off soon because his wife is not time off, but like more free time, I should say. Because his wife is going somewhere. And I'm guessing she's taking the kids. But during that time when he's off, he's like, you should stream during the day and we should do a League of Legends rank climb on stream. I'm like, oh my god, bro. I don't know, dude. But those days off have to fall on any time before Rebirth comes out. Because once Rebirth comes out, we're not playing anything but Rebirth for like 2 months. I'm just letting you guys know. Or at least a month. Depends on how quick we go through it. Yeah, it sounds like a bad time. I need more convincing. He just mentioned it tonight. I definitely need more convincing if we're gonna do that. All right, let's do chapter 7, and then I'm gonna give my voice and my head a break, and probably just chill. Maybe play some Monster Hunter or some League, and then go to sleep. All right. I did play a little bit of Monster Hunter today, Kitty. I didn't get very far though. I did. I think I just did the first fight in Iceborne. The dude who's like under the snow, and I unlocked like the base. That was all I did. I really need to like look at the equipment and stuff and see what I want to like build or make rather and pursue. But I'd definitely be down to try our connections without me on stream. After stream, if you want to do that. But yeah, let's wrap this up and do this chapter. So I think this chapter, so like even if this chapter is like 10 pages, that'll put us around like 68. And then I think next week we'd have to read less pages to finish. So we can definitely finish this next week if people are enjoying it. If nobody cares, then I'll just go back to a regularly scheduled program. Okay, let's do it. Can we still play it? Okay, cool. All right. Repez, Mira, and the rest of the group set out of Wintermelt into the fields that accompany it, past where they fought the bandits, and en route to Sanctivale. Sanctivale was the neighboring kingdom to Azuldra, and the two kingdoms shared the northern half of Chroma. Much friendlier than Azuldra's southern neighbors, the Balwal Empire, Repez felt they were more likely to be welcomed in Sanctivale. No, Mira's story kicks butt. Okay, well, we'll finish Mira's story next week for sure, though. He also knew that it would be easier to get information about the Shade from the nobles of Sanctivale than it would be to pry answers out of the locals of Bawal. On the way, Rapez filled in the others about the Shade. The path they took to the nearest Sanctivale town was a long one, and the group passed the forest that Mira emerged from when she left the ninja village. She constantly stared into the trees as she wondered if the village reappeared. It was hard to tell without getting closer to the forest, but she didn't want to slow down their journey. Agnes ensured they stopped often as she acted as a chaperone for the children. She stressed the importance of staying hydrated and getting enough rest. Raph, Pip, and Nicolette complained a lot during the traveling. Nitai only complained when they stopped to eat or rest. You could tell the trip was taking a toll on Agnes as well, but she did a good job of hiding it. "You're not tired?" Mira asked Rapez. He had just finished setting up a camp with a fire for them to stay the night. His long blue hair was pushed back and seemed to grow much longer than when Mira first met him not that long ago. He stood watch so that Hawker could get some sleep. "Not really," he answered. Mira noticed his eyes were fixated on something in the distance. "Not sure how you're carrying your bags and Agnes's as well," Mira said. She walked up beside him, trying to see what he was seeing. "Doesn't bother me." Rapez finally looked down at Mira. "Do you see it?" "I was trying to see what you were seeing, but I think I'm missing it." Mira squinted as if it would help her. "You could see the tip of the Immaculate. That's the Sanctivale Castle," Rapez said. Mira still couldn't see it even with the hint. "We're close." "Is that where we're going?" Mira thought she finally saw the top of the castle, but wasn't completely sure yet. "We're gonna go right around Davish and go to Kydermore? I think it was Kydermore." Rapez drew it out on his palm, even though Mira couldn't see his hand. I don't know. I then proceeded to misspell my own word. "Kydermore is the closest town after Davish. Why skip Davish?" Mira got on her tippy toes in an effort to see his palm. "Davish is a neutral territory. We're trying to go straight for places under Sanctivale's rule." He lowered his hands and redrew his imaginary map. "Once in Sanctivale, we'll be under the protection of their knights, and the Shade won't be able to get to us without causing a scene." He really thought this through. Mira once again turned her attention to the field in front of them. "You think their knights will be nicer than Azuldra's?" "They don't know who we are yet, so that's a plus," he said with a laugh. "How about you? You can't sleep?" "Ever since I left my village, I've been constantly asking myself if I did the right thing," Mira said. "I'm not sure how to know if I did or not." "Well, how do you feel?" Rapez sat down on the dirt floor still facing Sanctivale. Mira joined him. "I don't know," said Mira. "I like all of you, that's all I know." "I think I know more than that," Rapez said, "just based on what you told me. The kids in that village mistreated you for being different. We welcomed you for the same reason. Seems like a no-brainer to me." "A no-brainer?" "You know, like you don't need to be smart to figure this stuff out." Sorry, like you don't need to be smart to figure this one out," Rapez said. "Never heard that term before? Agnes uses it sometimes." "To describe you?" Mira asked with a laugh. "Hey, I'm trying to be nice here." Rapez pushed Mira playfully. "I'm just saying that I meant what I said back at the hideout. You should feel at home whenever you're with our group. We're family." Oh snap. I didn't know Rapez was Vin Diesel. The mere mention of the word family transported Mira back to her house with her mother and father. She would miss them. A small part of her would miss Tsuneo and the teachings of her mentors and masters. She could have been the greatest ninja that Chroma had ever seen. "I like being able to be myself," Mira said. "Yeah, it's all about family." "I like being able to be myself," Mira said. "Then that's your answer." Rapez laid down. Mira once again copied what he did, though she had to shimmy up to be face to face with him. "You can be yourself around us. You could also be Captain Mira Blackwater or whatever you want to be. We won't judge you." "I want to be the greatest pirate the world has ever seen," Mira decided. The stars above them seemed so full without the trees of her village blocking them. "You're really hooked on this pirate thing, huh?" Rapez laughed again. "You find a way to calm the sea around Chroma, and I'll help you achieve that dream." "You mean it?" Mira looked over at him, but he kept staring at the sky. "Yeah," he said. "You have to do something for me in return." "Okay." Mira sat up, not taking her eyes off him. "What do I have to do?" "You have to back me in this fight against the Shade." He finally looked over at her. "That shouldn't count. I was going to do that anyway," Mira replied. No, I mean whatever I decide to do, no matter how ridiculous. He sat up and looked her right in the face. You need to have my back. That's it? She smiled. She stood up and stretched. Before she could answer, Hawker walked over. My turn. Go to sleep. Go get some sleep. He pointed behind him as he walked to where Rapez was. You sure? Rapez got to his feet. If she doesn't get some sleep also, you're going to have to entertain her too. Think you can handle that? I've dealt with worse, Hawker said. Remember when you were sick and I had to tuck in Raph and Pip at night? That was a nightmare. I think I can handle some good conversation with a pretty little cat girl. Conversations aren't really your strong suit, Rapez said with a grin. Yeah, answered Hawker. The awkward silence that followed was enough to prove Rapez right. Rapez made his way to the rest of the camp. Mira stayed beside Hawker, her tail wagging back and forth, for a few moments before the same silence was enough to send her walking after Rapez. So, Rapez said as she pulled up beside him, I'll always have your back. The next day, the children entered Kydermore. To them, it was large, about the same size of Winterbelt. To the average Sanctivale citizen, it was one of the smaller territories. White and gold buildings lined the streets, few of which differentiated in size and shape. Where Wintermelt had open markets, Kydermore had stores, some of which were strangely placed in the middle of open areas. Each store had a sign outside to signify it wasn't just a plain building. Some had a sign with a sword and dagger on it to symbolize it sold weapons, others with signs indicating food, and some with beds to announce it was an inn. We need rooms. That should be our first stop, Rapez said. He pointed to the closest inn and gave Nitai a small sack of money. Should cover it. Where did you get this? Raph asked as his eyes widened. Really think I wasn't going to keep at least some of the cash from the bandits? Rapez said with a smile. We need to survive too, right? Always a step ahead, Nitai yelled. Always embarrassing, Nicolette said under her breath. You're not coming in with us? Asked Pip. No, Mira and I are going to question some of the locals. Go on ahead and get us all set up. He handed a separate sack of money to Agnes. Go get your own room. Are you sure? Agnes asked, hesitant to grab the money. Yeah. Rapez pushed it further in her direction. You shouldn't have to stay with a bunch of kids. I don't mind if it saves money, she said, reluctantly accepting the money so that Rapez wouldn't have to hold it out awkwardly. It's fine. We might be here for a while if we don't get a lead. He nodded to Agnes, then turned to Mira. Let's go, Mira. Two began walking away, but Hawker joined them. Want me to gather information as well? Hawker asked. He was still carrying his bags. Yeah, we're gonna go to the pub up just up ahead. The one we passed on the way in. Drop off your bags, help the others bring inside ours, and then hit the opposite end of the town. See if you can find out anything. Got it. Hawker began walking away, but Rapez grabbed his shoulder to stop him. Back at the inn in an hour, at most. If Mira and I take longer than that, come find us. Hawker lifted his wrist up, revealing one of the Milwake specialty watches. We didn't steal these watches for no reason, he said with a smile before walking off. So when are you going to utilize the others? Mira asked. What are you talking about? Can't always be us and Hawker doing all the dirty work. You should use the others too. Mira realized she was walking fast again and slowed down to match Rapez's pace. I give them ways to help out, Rapez replied. You haven't known us for that long, but I do. But I do. It wasn't like an I do. Like, he obviously knows them longer than her, but he's saying I do to giving them stuff to do. You send them to fetch food and get the inn, set the table, and show people to their beds, Mira said in protest. All important things for our group, Rapez stopped. Are you implying I should send Nicolette out to fight a bunch of bandits? Or Pip? I can't risk that. Mira didn't stop walking. That's not what I'm saying. That's what it sounds like to me. Rapez jogged a bit to catch up to her again. Unless you want to be clearer in what you mean. I think if we're going to take down an entire group of bandits, we need to start thinking of ways to incorporate the others in our plans. Like? Rapez saw the pub and grabbed Mira's arm to make sure she stopped with him this time. I'm open to suggestions. I don't have any yet, but I'll think of some. I think we need to bring them along and teach them how to fight if we're going to go through with this. I'll consider it. Rapez pointed to a large sign with a jug of ale on it. That's where we're going. Will they let us in? We're a bit young to be in there, no? Mira tried to look into one of the wooden windows, but it was impossible to see anything from where she was standing. We both don't look our age. Rapez used his height to try to see in, but had difficulty as well. We should be fine. Rapez walked up to the doors of the pub first. They swung open as he pushed on them. Mira stepped in right behind him. A small busty barmaid with blonde hair greeted them as they entered. Welcome to Catermore's Ale. I guess it's supposed to be like... No, this should rhyme, but it doesn't. Catermore's Aylmore, she said with a curtsy. Can I get you anything? We're fine for now. We'll find some chairs first, Rapez said with a smile. We just had a table open up in the corner over here. Follow me. The barmaid added with a smile of her own. She showed them to their seats. When you're ready, just call me over. This won't work, Rapez said after the barmaid walked away. We need to interact with other people. We can't just be sitting in the corner. I got this, Mira said as she stood up. Wait, Mira! Mira walked over to the bar and sat on one of the stools. There were 2 men to her left and 1 to her right. Give me the best you got, Mira shouted, way louder than anyone should ever shout those words. Rapez let out a sigh, almost as loud. The words drew the attention of the men beside her. You sound like you've been drinking already, the man to her right said. Can't imagine a tiny girl like you can handle the best this place has to offer. You would be surprised what I can handle. Trust me, lover. Mira ran her index finger under the man's chin. We don't look that old, Rapez said under his breath. He looked around the pub to see if Mira was drawing more unwanted attention and realized that everyone there was now watching her. This is bad. Rapez looked out the window in hopes that the hour somehow miraculously passed and Hawker was coming to save them. The bartender placed a jug of ale on the counter. You could tell it wasn't their biggest size. For that, Rapez was grateful. Then Mira grabbed the handle and chugged the entire ale, much to the surprise of the men around her and Rapez. Their jaws were left open, as was the bartender's. Easy there, little lady, the bartender said. You need to pay for these things before you drink. Mira patted the sides of her pants. You have to forgive me, sir. I seem to have misplaced my purse. I'll pay for it, said the man to her right. And the next round is on me, the man on the left added, assuming the little lady is up for it. I'm just getting started, Mira said with a smile. Her last word was slurred, and it made Rapez more nervous. So what brings you here? She asked in no general direction. The man on the right answered first, as the man on the left paid for the next round of ale. The same thing that brings any man here, he started, to escape his family, his wife, his kids, his responsibilities. Some of us are just avoiding going to work, the man on the left chimed in. His last words were equally as slurred as Mira's, which brought Rapez some comfort, as he continued to watch on in amusement and horror. What about you? The man on the right asked. Scouting my next big adventure, Mira said. Rapez could tell the ale was hitting her now as she hung her head a bit after she spoke. She pointed at the man on the left, then turned her attention to the man on the right. You boys wouldn't happen to have any information on the bandits that frequent around here, would you? Rapez was impressed that she stayed on track, despite the fact that the ale had to be hitting her hard. Rapez tried to calculate her weight, but Mira's tiny waist made it hard to pinpoint. Not many bandits coming through Sanctivale territories these days. The general keeps them in check, said the bartender. I heard some bandits belonging to the Shade got roughed up pretty badly near Wintermelt a few days ago, the man on the right said. Yeah, their leader lost his eye and got thrown in jail, the man on the left added. The rest, not so lucky. I think most of them are dead. Sorry, fellas, Rapez interrupted and grabbed Mira just under her arm and yanked her off the stool. Need to be leaving with the missus, he nodded to them. What? Why? Mira pulled her arm away, slapping Rapez on the bicep at the same time. My friends here were about to buy me another drink. Yeah, let her stay, the man on the left said as he tried to stand up, but the ale made it difficult. Sorry, Rapez pulled Mira along and out of the pub. They got only a few steps away before Mira pulled herself away again. What was that? I was getting information. Mira immediately brought her hand up to her forehead. I underestimated the effect of that ale. Yeah, you don't chug that stuff when you weigh almost nothing, Rapez said. What were you thinking? Did they not have alcohol where you're from? They did. Mira's father let her taste it once and she didn't like it. Doesn't matter. I was getting good information. Mira began walking but stopped. I need to sit down. Over here. Rapez pointed to a nearby store with a spot for her to sit, but she just sat on the dirt ground beneath her in the middle of the pathway connecting the stores. Don't sit there. You're in the way. Can you just tell me why and stop being so loud? Mira said, both hands on her forehead now. One of those guys knew bandits were attacked by Wintermelt, Rapez said. If they're part of a bandit organization, that news is going to travel fast, Mira replied. Rapez was shocked how well she was keeping her facts and words together despite the drink. Do you really believe that a story about bandits being defeated in Wintermelt would leave out the fact that those very same bandits were defeated by a bunch of kids? Oh, Mira said, looking up at him. Oh, she repeated, this time shooting up to her feet. You think they know who we are? Mira laughed through her words and playfully leaned on Rapez's chest while she did so. I doubt they left out that a cat girl and a tall blue-haired boy did all the damage, Rapez said. He was still trying to figure out how Mira was doing as well as she was doing. Are you okay? I think I want to sit back down. Mira sat down on the dirt ground again, then sprawled out completely and closed her eyes. Hey, Mira! Rapez knelt down and patted her cheek. Well, should have known this was a bad idea. Rapez picked up Mira and carried her back to the inn. When he entered, there was no one working at the counter. There was a small square piece of wood on the counter with a fist design on it. Rapez knocked on it with his fist while still holding Mira. They're not coming. The voice came from behind Rapez. A man was sitting down on a chair near the door. Rapez completely missed him when entering. I had everyone but your friends upstairs evacuate. Rapez completely turned around to face the man. He was average height and covered in dark clothes. Clothes went all the way up to his chin and only his face was visible. The man's hair and eyes were brown, and he has a small tiny scar above his right eye that went all the way up to the top of his head, causing a strange part in his hair. You were right to rush her out of the bar, the man began. I find it amusing that you thought you would be safe in Sanctiville. You'll quickly learn that we are everywhere. So the shade is a real thing. Rapez looked down at Mira, who was still out cold. Very real, the man replied. And you're here to kill us? I'm here to warn you. Before the man could continue, an arrow crashed through the window behind him and pierced the man's shoulder. Rapez immediately turned and placed Mira on the counter, then grabbed the man by his shirt and pinned him against the closest wall. Hawker kicked open the door and had his bow drawn with another arrow nocked and ready. Is that not how you spell knocked? I think that's right. You all like to sound and act tough, but so far I'm just not impressed, Rapez said. Before he could continue, two Sanctiville knights entered the inn. What happened here? One of the knights asked. Wait, Ramil, isn't that Ethan Rot of the Shade? The other knight asked. Your name is Ethan Rot? Rapez said with a laugh. I guess I just expected something cooler from a group known as the Shade. We've been after him for a long time, answered the knight. I'm Durande. This is Ramil. I'm Rapez. This is Hawker. I'm Rapez. This is Hawker. You could have him. Sorry about the commotion. Rapez pushed Ethan over to the knights. I'll lock him in a cell, Ramil said. You got it from here? Yeah, said Durande. She okay? Everyone in the room turned to Mira. She was still unconscious on the counter. Too much to drink, Rapez said, hoping she looked old enough to get away with that excuse. How did you get in deep with the Shade? They rarely send anyone to Sanctiville territory, so you must have done something really bad to get their attention. Just a misunderstanding, said Rapez. Are we in trouble? We'll be if Bullseye doesn't put the bow down. Durande laughed as he... Bullseye is a Daredevil reference, and these guys are supposed to be the Hand, so... I doubled down without even remembering. Durande laughed as he nodded to Hawker. It's all right, son. We're happy you helped us stop that bandit. Rapez gave Hawker a nod and he lowered his bow. Are we safe to stay here? Should be fine now. Durande walked over to the window. Might be a little chilly tonight. Sounded like he was just going to warn me anyway, Rapez added. They would be stupid to make an attempt on your lives in a Sanctiville territory. Like I said, it's rare for them to even show themselves. Durande walked over to Rapez and offered him his hand. Thanks for the assist. No problem. Rapez hesitated a moment, then shook Durande's hand. I know it's a lot to ask, but could you station a knight outside just in case? I'll mention it to my superior, Durande said. You kids try to stay safe. Get that one to a medic if she doesn't wake up soon, all right? Okay, Rapez said with a smile. As Durande left, the innkeeper entered. She was a short girl with black hair up in a ponytail. Hey, I'm sorry about the mess. No need to be sorry. I'm sorry this all happened. I didn't know what to do. He threatened my life and the lives of the rest of our guests. You did the right thing, Rapez assured her. We handled it, though. You shouldn't have any more problems. The innkeeper blankly stared past him. He turned to look at Mira, then back at the innkeeper. Except the drunk cat girl. Let me clean that up. When Hawker and Rapez got upstairs, Hawker opened the door so Rapez could carry Mira in and place her on the closest bed. The others immediately reacted to their entrance. That was scary, Nicolette said, breaking the silence. We heard the screaming downstairs, and then that man came up and threatened to slit our throats if we made any noise before you arrived. Yeah, we might be in more trouble than I thought, Rapaz said. I didn't know what to do, Nicolette added. What if he would have killed all of us? I think it was just a warning, said Hawker. It won't be next time. Rapaz sat on the bed next to Mira. What happened to her? Nitai asked. Pip poked Mira's thigh, but she didn't budge. Is she dead? Asked Pip. No, the idiot chugged a jug of ale like it was water, said Rapaz. Why was she drinking? Nicolette was shaking her head during Rapaz's explanation. Her own special way of gathering information, Rapaz said. It didn't work, though. We got as much information now as when we started. We just know for sure that the Shade knows we're responsible for the bandits losing at Wintermelt Fields. What do you suggest? Asked Raph. Most of the children were shaken up by the events, but Rapaz's presence comforted them. A good night's rest. We'll discuss our next move in the morning. Rapaz looked around the room. If we're going to do this, if we're going to fight for our survival, I'm going to need everyone to get involved. We're here. Just let us know what you need, Raph replied. Raph's sentiments are the same as my own. Nicolette nodded to Rapaz. The same as the rest of ours, I assume. There's no turning back now. I think I could probably do one more. But then, like, we're on page 73. We're very close to just finishing it. All right, let's go. One more. Save it? You think save the rest for next week? Kitty? Let's see how long. Let me see how long this chapter is. It's not that long. It's like 5 pages. It gives us like 32 pages next time. Save it? Okay. I'll mark what chapter we're on. We're on chapter 8. Chapter 8. Where were we on the original Soldier's Crest stuff? Excuse me. I think we're on chapter 5 of that. What is the date for next Tuesday? 23rd. Alright, so that's Mira. It's chapter 8. Okay, cool. Alright, yeah, we'll save it then. We can definitely finish this next week. I did 73 pages today, which is crazy. Alright, okay. Alright, that'll be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. Next week we'll finish that. We'll get back on the Choose Your Own Adventure. Like the stuff like this, unless we decide to do Soldier's Crest, because that'll take us like the rest of the year to finish. Because that thing's like 400 pages. Once we're done with this, like there really isn't anything else like that we'll probably read. So we can definitely just crank out the Choose Your Own Adventure stuff every week. Obviously once Rebirth comes out, these streams will be like optional, I guess, because they're like the stuff that I'm posting from these streams aren't really getting that many views. But like if they blow up or something, like if I put something from this on TikTok or the actual YouTube channel and it like pops off or blows up, or I notice like our watch hours are going up a lot more than they normally do on YouTube, then I will make sure I continue to do these even after Rebirth is out. We'll probably skip it for like a week, maybe two, like right when Rebirth comes out. But when does Rebirth comes out on a Thursday? That's weird. Why does it come out on a Thursday? I'm pretty sure it's February 29th. But we might be able to play it on the Wednesday, like at midnight. Into the Thursday. So we might be able to play it on like the night of the 28th. Depending on when it goes live. So, yeah. So, I guess February 27th will probably be the last one of these for like a week or two, and then we'll use our judgment. But I just know like Rebirth is gonna consume my entire life for like at least a month. So I'm just preparing. I'm trying to get ahead for that and prepare for that. But yeah, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. And this stream will be available on YouTube and as a VOD. So if anybody wants to go watch that or check it out later, it'll be there. And I will be back tomorrow night. Like I said, we'll either do more 7 Remake achievements. I started working on some of them off stream too. So we'll either do 7 Remake achievements or maybe mess around with Granblue Fantasy Relink. Unless I could get my hands on like an early copy of Palworld somehow. But I think that comes out on Friday, so maybe we'll do that Friday. But yeah. All right. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Kitty, if you and Akatsu want to try the Monster Hunter stuff, I'm down. And I'll catch you guys next time.